1. Mary are Squawking Dead, the podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. I'm David Cameo, and I have with me, for the first time ever in an intro to an episode, Rachel.
Right? How crazy. What am I doing here?
Yeah, what is she doing here? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
For, all the Gentiles out there. Us Jews have a nice day off. We don't have to talk to family, nothing. So, Rachel wanted us to get on here. I think it was mostly you that wanted to do this.
I thought it was right?
Yeah, it just felt right. Right.
Yeah, it just felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I see you guys in the chat. Unfortunately, we're not going to be live for very long.
No.
Because we have an episode to introduce, but we wanted to wish you guys a happy, merry, like Brian says, a happy, merry whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And we're about to debut our episode 100, part 3, covering The Walking Dead's 9th season. It's what I've referred to as its Renaissance season, minus Rick Grimes for some of it, for most of it.
Yeah.
So it's good to see Brian. Brian's laughing. That's nice. Hey, Michael Lloyd Zachary. Okay, so
hey guys.
Rich, why don't you take over, because I'm very nervous at this point.
You're nervous? Why are you nervous?
Because, gift giving makes me nervous. Oh, by the way, you guys like my onesie?
Yes. Your onesie is awesome.
Look,
there are feet on the bottom of your feet. That's my favorite part.
Exactly. So you can stick better and you don't slide around.
Oh, nice.
By the way, that's my wife. That's all my wife. We have matching onesies, too. So.
Aww. That's adorable.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Oh, you know what?
Good job. Good job, everyone.
I got to get on the restream because I don't see everybody in the other chats.
Oh, no.
But yes, go. Why don't you take it away, Rach?
So Dave got me a Christmas present, and it shipped right to my house. So then my husband swooped in, and he wrapped it up all nice.
I was going to say.
So I was going to open it, because, my favorite part about giving a gift is watching someone open it, right? So
right.
I wanted you to have that joy.
I have tons of anxiety.
Anxiety? Now I'm nervous.
Oh, now you got to get a scissor and everything.
Yeah, it's like super sealed.
And you seem to be in a craft. Yeah, Pivey's like saying, open it.
All right, hold on. It's super sealed. I got to get a knife.
Okay, thank you, Michael Lord Zachary. This is the part where I start getting really nervous and anxiety filled. So yeah, I shipped it straight from Best Buy, just so everybody knows. So it's just one of those things where you can't really ship it gift wrapped unless I made Rachel go to the store to pick it up.
Okay.
Then maybe.
Okay. Got my knife.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh my gosh. There we go.
By the way, what computer are you on right now?
I'm on my Mac.
Okay. Is this the older Mac?
Yeah, this was really old.
Here we go. Oh, yeah, Pipey, that is funny. Oh, wow.
I just dropped a box on my cat. I'm sorry, cat. Check contents. Okay. Nope. All good.
Wow, it still doesn't say what it is? Okay, it's okay. No, keep going. If it doesn't, all the better. Oh, thanks, Brian.
Oh, my word.
Rachel had multiple videos, by the way.
I just don't know how to open anything.
Yeah, I just posted the video that I did for the. By the way, if you haven't watched Blazy Gardner's Walking Dead Universe Secret Santa Christmas Special, definitely do it. It's great. It's about 50 or so minutes long, but
this looks expensive.
She's been posting individual clips of it all throughout Christmas.
This looks expensive. What did you do?
Does it look expensive?
What did you do?
This is
Oh my God, David!
Oh my God, David!
Oh my God, David! Shut up! Are you freaking kidding me?
I figured.
Oh my God!
think this one flips around too.
Oh my. Oh my God. What do you mean? Wait, what does that mean?
You can flip it all the way back. And stand it like a tripod.
What the crap is happening?
And it's a touch screen.
Oh my gosh. This thing is way smarter than I am.
And you could use a pen.
Holy crap.
You could use a pen to do art.
Oh, that's amazing. I have a pen.
There you go.
It should work. Then it should work in here. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Virtual hug.
Virtual onesie hug. Come
Oh
on
my
in, Rachel. The
gosh.
water's fine.
Oh my gosh, Dave. That is unbelievable.
So
unbelievable.
For those who want to know
Thank
what it
you.
is, it's a Chromebook. So I'm
yes.
giving her something she knows is familiar with.
Yes.
She uses a Chromebook to record with us. But I gave her something with, like, I want to say 10 times the storage.
Holy crap.
A little under 10 times the storage. It has
Oh my God.
about double the RAM. And hopefully it'll be something that will last you longer. You can give the old Chromebook to Silas to use for school.
Right. We've been sharing, so I keep stealing it out of his room and putting it back, so I don't have to do that anymore.
This makes logical sense.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so
And she can use it for her
much.
art. And that's what I
Yes.
really liked. So
That is super exciting because this screen is way bigger than my tablet.
I don't know if it's showing how red my face is right now because I can't.
I was hiding behind the computer when I went red, so hopefully no one saw too much of that because, yeah, I wear my emotions right here.
I hide it behind olive skin. So
At least you have a beard to cover half your face. I have nothing hiding all the redness.
You should think about it. You should.
If only I could, man. If I could. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow.
And
that is incredible.
It's literally the least I could do, and it makes the podcast better in many ways. So it's
There we
something
go.
to own. So yeah, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Publicly.
Oh my gosh. Now I need to get you like 30 more cameos.
No, you don't. We're even Steven.
As soon as Colby's on there and Lenny, they're yours.
Lenny, oh my God. How private that guy is. I don't know if it's going to happen. But we just wanted to spread some cheer and some joy in this time. Because I know now, I know that like Christmas isn't great. First of all, not everybody celebrates Christmas. But everybody kind of sort of generally is a better person around this year, usually.
You hope.
And you're feeling like, if you're feeling like somehow you don't want to be that better person, or you don't feel very Christmassy or holiday season-y or a better person, because of various circumstances, we just wanted to have a little bit of joy and cheer and smiles and redness. And I'm very hot now under this onesie. This is a big mistake.
I know.
This is what I wore
so
yesterday. I just wanted to take a few minutes to actually also talk about what we did just in the last couple days. So I figure you should start, because I know we went into it a little bit in Blazy's video and Sharondy's video, but how did it go? Like, what did you do last night, today?
Oh my gosh, yesterday was absolutely crazy. I felt like I was running all over the place trying to get presents here and there. We did a Secret Santa with another smaller group of friends, and most people might have seen the post already, but this is what I got.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah. And when are you going to open that?
I can't open it till tomorrow. We jackbox on Saturdays, and we promise to all open our gifts on the same night and drink together. So
that is excellent.
Virtually, of course.
And by the way, so people know, you went to the middle of nowhere, like to this really weird public meeting spot to distribute drugs.
to a closed down McDonald's, which it was closed down, yeah. And at one point, a cop came through the parking lot. And we were like, "Merry Christmas!" It was funny.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm like, we're gonna have to explain ourselves, guys. But he didn't end up stopping. So apparently, we looked trustworthy, I guess.
Oh, it's excellent. And so today, what were your plans today? What did you do? Because I know that you couldn't do your normal Christmas routine.
Yeah. Well, we did. We Facebook called my parents this morning, so we did a video thing with them so they could watch Silas open his presents this morning. So.
Oh, cool.
And Silas got up earlier than he has in years, and I'm like, "What are you doing, child?" I convinced him to go back to sleep for at least 30 minutes, but then after that, it was like, no,
Game
he wanted
over.
to get up and get presents, yeah. So we did that, and then, also last night, after the gift exchange, our annual Christmas Eve tradition is to watch Die Hard, so we did that too. And then today, we watched all of our other favorite Christmas movies, like Lethal Weapon and Gremlins and all those.
That was the one I was going to watch also. So we had like a whole array of movies planned also, but we watched Nightmare Before Christmas. If you saw the stories I posted, I watched Nightmare Before Christmas, which I hadn't really watched really straight through kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah,
so good.
I've always seen like bits and pieces, but it's like I never sat down. So Nightmare Before Christmas, the happiest season on Hulu.
So good.
Yeah, it was there were some gut punches.
Yeah, few.
Yeah, especially near the end.
Yeah.
What was the third one now? It's blanking me out. Oh, the Harold and Kumar Christmas special thing, whatever. 2011. Very on PC.
Was it a stand-up special or like the?
Oh no, it was a movie. It was like the third
okay.
movie. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's that. So I saw that. Neil Patrick Harris is a coos hound. He comes back finally. But yeah, that was
is
pretty cool.
Hilarious.
And then as soon as we started, like, because TBS has a Christmas Story on for 24 hours, so
Yes.
we just finished and we popped on to Christmas Story, but Evan's like, nah, see you later. Too much eggnog. Too much eggnog.
Oh man.
And I put less rum in it for her, but yeah. But and we had just so to paint the carb load picture, I had Little Caesars, a lot of Little Caesars.
Nice.
A lot of Little Caesars.
Okay, all right. I was going to say nothing wrong with that until you emphasize, and then I'm like, there is such a thing as too much Little Caesars.
There's bread on bread on bread.
Ugh.
And dipping sauces. So yeah, we were donezo. But I kept going, and I watched a couple episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and I tried to watch a little bit more Twilight Zone, but I fell asleep right before starting another episode. So, but I did a decent send-off. Like 4 o'clock in the morning, I was done. And the rest of the day I was with you guys, chatting with you guys on Instagram and Twitter and all that, and preparing for this episode, which we should probably, I guess, start, right?
Probably.
It's a fairly long one, but and with all that we cut out, just so everybody knows, if you want the full episode, you can go to coffee.com. Actually, now it's on this side, coffee.com/SQUAWKING DEAD. I had to cut ourselves off so many places because we kept going into tangents, but like beautiful personal tangents on an array of different subjects relating to The Walking Dead Season 9, obviously. But, we start going to personal stories. Like I managed to keep in the story with my mom escaping Syria and that whole travail relating to the episode because Carl Grimes, his vision, having to cut it short, what it means to be in a world with less adversaries, that sort of thing, but still realistic dangers. And it's funny kind of how that theme kind of continues on to season 10, by the way. Everything's great in Alexandria. Bread is being broke, and yet, we're fighting amongst ourselves about who, the Whisperers, the Cold War sort of thing. But anyway, so season 9, great, awesome. Can't wait to show it to you guys. Yeah, I guess that's it. So, but if you do want the uncut episode, you can head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Follow us there. Just do that. You don't have to do anything else. But if you do want the episode, you can just buy us a coffee. A coffee will give you 30 days of access to our supporter-backed content. Helps the podcast out, obviously. And if you subscribe to a coffee a month or more, we're not going to stop you. The party just keeps on rolling. And just keep a couple things in mind, by the way, because I edited this episode. One, this episode, the volume is a bit wonky, but we did some things in OBS that could make it level out, so it should be okay. Two, if it seems as though I'm speaking over Rachel, I am not. It seemed at some point, like as the recording moves on, the drift between Rachel's vocals and mine widens. So it seems like I'm stepping on her, but I'm not. I will make that clear in the description. I didn't in the description, but I did in the coffee post with the unedited episodes because it is pronounced. So we're not stepping on... It looks like Nisa and I are stepping on Rachel's words, but we're not.
I'm gonna laugh so hard.
Yeah, but you'll notice it more like midway through, and then obviously
Okay.
we break in the middle, and then it's normal for a little while, and then the end is awful. The
So
end
just
is
the tracks just aren't lining up.
yeah.
Right?
You guys won't notice it more than I did while I was editing, but you will notice it here and there. And be like, oh, are they just like talking over Rachel?
What dicks?
Yeah, total dicks. So thank you guys. Okay, so we're gonna premiere this episode. Rachel and I are gonna say goodbye afterwards, and I hope you enjoy this retrospective on season 9. We enjoyed making it. We enjoyed the season, obviously, and these are our best clips covering our tenure during season 9. So I hope you enjoy it. Take care, everybody. Have a merry one as this holiday closes, and you gotta take your wrapping paper, throw it in the garbage. Please recycle, I guess. And, if you feel like it, if you can. And we love you, Rachel. Just any parting words?
All love. I love everybody. Merry Christmas to all. No, not that cheesy.
and to all, a good shower with your greasy asses.
That's right. That's right. Eat food, be merry,
and
watch Walking Dead.
And try not to have diarrhea.
Yeah.
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, and sometimes we go deep. And all of that will be exhibited in today's part 3 of our best clips of Squawking Dead coverage of The Walking Dead Season 9. And I'm here with me, David Cameo, and Cosmo09, Rachael Burt,
Ayo.
and Nisa, WTF Nisa.
Hey.
You can't see her, but she's there.
Yeah, I'm a gross.
We're gonna start playing the best clip that we had from our episode covering The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 1, season premiere. It's our episode 31.
Who picked these clips? I don't remember.
It was mostly me.
Okay.
I think. I
think I had some of the later episodes.
I had Carol choose the episodes where it was just me alone, live streaming. So
probably a good
yeah, so she could give me a little bit more perspective on what mattered, Because I won't. I really won't. I'll just hear me rambling.
I mean, you have an idea you'll have an idea and then she'll have an idea.
Yeah, but I want to get the one that matters most to most people. That's the thing. Like, I can just pick what matters to me or what I think is cool. But like, if nobody else thinks it's cool, what's the point? Because most of the things I say aren't like necessarily cool. It's just, I think they're cool. Maybe somebody else will think they're cool too.
Isn't that, 90% of conversation? You say what you think is cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Either it lands or it doesn't.
But, marketing is a whole other fucking beast. So, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch the first clip.
I think that all of this hinting of the helicopter, which obviously came up last season, kept hinting at seeing this helicopter, and it's now even in the opening credits, the new opening credits, it's the helicopter. So in my mind, I'm convinced that the helicopter is part of the Commonwealth that is in the comics. That's part of Georgie's group.
Yeah.
And that is essentially
part of the background of the new the key art.
Yeah. It's a fraction of the Commonwealth is basically like a fraction of the government that survives the apocalypse, and it's like a huge thriving community with actual community, practically city state kind of thing. They've got coffee shops, they're doing good, and basically, to me, I would think it's something in the comic book, it's not in Washington DC proper. It's more like in the Midwest. I think in Ohio or something like that. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's it makes sense that it would be more Washington DC based, because what I've always said. In my mind, if shit hit the fan tomorrow, under Washington, D.C., the mother of all bunkers exists. I'm convinced of that. They probably have a city-state underneath with coffee shops and stadiums and all sorts of stuff, in my mind.
Well, yeah. Your obsession with coffee, and which we got in Fear the Walking Dead, by the way, was a lower-end version, but it's no Keurig.
The poison coffee. The poison water in the coffee.
Listen, I might potentially be stepping down from my Keurig, so it's not the end all be all.
Well, no, we're growing up. It's not college. It's not post college anymore.
Yeah,
we're grinding our own beans.
We're not single.
Yeah,
it's sophisticated.
Sophisticated.
So when Carol said there was a bunker under Washington, D.C., she means in real life. Like
I think a little bit of both, yeah. But I think she also means that there better be in this universe
underneath
a mother of all bunkers.
It makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, if there's tragedy on the surface of the earth, go underground.
Right, exactly. But then again,
you can prepare for that.
I bet there's like a bunker that goes underneath the entire city.
Oh yeah, that's like an underground city.
Exactly, an underground DC.
But here's how these things go, right? Like you say that now, but then like let's say 5 years later, or well, I guess we're not there yet, but we will be. It could easily go this way, and that's what happens is that underground bunker becomes like this underground Legend of Zelda, dungeon level, because you just get one outbreak, one little bite, and if you don't lock down properly, it's a treasure trove. So like literally like a Legend of Zelda dungeon. So you open treasure boxes full of goods and weapons and technology and everything. So but with not without high risk, armored individuals and stuff like that. They're hard to kill.
That's why I would go somewhere else. Most people would think to go, I'm gonna go to DC, obviously. I would, if I don't go to Area 51, I'm gonna choose like some Air Force base, like not a big one. Yeah, not a big one. Like some place like most people are not gonna think about it. So
I'm heading for an island.
Yeah, well, before I go to an island, I gotta raid like a military base for supplies. They're
gotta get all the
weapons and military supplies.
Then go to an island.
Because you gotta gather military rations.
If there really was an underground bunker under DC, damn well who'd have all their spots down there and all the rich.
Yeah, I guess so. And I always imagined if you're going to do something like underground or like in a facility, I always thought, look, when you go to sleep, you're going to have to lock everybody in, just in case somebody passes away at night or some shenanigans happen at night. I always think of that because the prison was actually kind of an ideal place depending on how they ran it.
If they had locked everyone in the cells, yes.
But here's the folly. What, you ready for it? What if the person or people responsible for opening up the cells somehow die or get run over?
So you put it on a timer.
God.
That's providing we still have power, or someone smart enough to hook up a generator to get enough power to set them on.
Or okay, let's go the other way around. Let's say the locks are on the inside.
How about we just have keys to our own cells?
Yeah, we each have keys for the inside.
A zombie's not going to unlock the door and let themselves out.
And it's good for privacy.
But a human.
So
that's a much better idea than timer.
Yeah, a possible zombie, a zombie prison, basically.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the nature of Carol's comments because there's some things she's spot on about, but then there's other things that she didn't expect because it wasn't fully fleshed that she was a little off about. We bring this up a little later in the season as we kind of hear murmurs of what may happen. The assumption, based on the comics, is that this group of people is ubiquitous. And I had the prediction of I don't think that's A, possible, and B, I think this is going to be broken up into factions. And then we find out later on this little symbol of the Borromean rings, the three rings interlocking, that is kind of the case. We don't 100% know exactly what's going on, but we do know that there is possibly what is called the Commonwealth, which is essentially maybe Georgie's group. And we finally did get the first look or like a tiny sneak teaser into what the remaining seasons of The Walking Dead is, and then you barely see the Commonwealth uniforms. Did you see that? It is white, and it does look garish. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. What clip? What clip were you talking
there was a teaser. There was a teaser that was posted just last week.
Teaser.
And it's at the very end of it. You do see the Commonwealth uniform of them, like in a side profile, like in the position, and you see the white with a little bit of red. Yeah, exactly. We didn't think that it was going to look like that, and it also confirms that the Civic Republic military is not the the Commonwealth. They are not the same things. They may be part of two of the three rings, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, essentially, maybe the Commonwealth, as the Commonwealth, maybe they do have that bunker. Maybe they do live large, etc., etc. Maybe the Pacific Republic military is somewhat like that too, and from what we've seen of The Walking Dead World Beyond, it might be. But it remains to be seen. But I'm happy that Carol brought this up way in advance, because it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to hear. Carol is like loving the idea of a community living in convenience, the height of convenience. There's stores, there's coffee shops.
I mean, that is essentially how the Commonwealth
Beer and
works.
coffee.
You know, when they take people in, they basically assign you a job according to what you did.
Oh,
Your status
determined
is,
by
measured by what you did before the apocalypse. So, for example, when Michonne shows up at the Commonwealth and says, "Well, I'm a lawyer," she's very high up on that totem. Immediately. Right. Immediately. I mean, there was no starting here and climbing up. You know, they're just like, "Oh, you were a lawyer? You deserve your own apartment with."
Also, like they emulate the status too, not only the job.
Yes.
So here's the thing, like what's interesting to me is that from our discussions of the last two parts of our coverage of our episode 100 multi-part series, one of the things that we highlight over and over again is that, like, in a sense, the Walking Dead universe as a whole, the idea that we like the most about it is that these people tend to become their idealized selves or self-actualized self, rather than before, where, you know, they could have been stuck in a dead-end job and, you know, couldn't be the person they felt like they were on the inside, you know? And so...
Look at the governor.
Right.
He's a good example.
He's like the extreme example.
Yeah.
And Rick is kind of this weird flux example by contrast. But when you talk about the Commonwealth and, you're just, well, if this is what you were before, this is what you are now. And it's like, I can see how that might butt heads with many people, you know?
Yeah. I mean, how many people are working at jobs that they're too good for? You know, this person is working like you said, a dead-end job, but they're capable of so much more. And in an apocalypse...
Right. And here, there's no meritocracy or capitalism.
Daryl didn't have the best life before the apocalypse, and, you know, now he's a leader and has a family, and life's gotten better for him. Yeah.
I mean, when you see him in season 9, or at least the beginning of it, this is why I was like a little critical of him in our last part. It was like, he's still kind of growing up. There's still like this, like, I don't wanna, you know, like that sort of thing, which is what I was kind of trying to express in the other episode. Like, I was kind of like rolling my eyes at it in a weird way. Like, it's nice that he's standing up for himself, so he's like a teenager now, right? But it's like, right? He's like, I don't wanna, like, you know, flipping the hair back, like, but you know, by season 10, like, you start to see, I'm an adult now, and I have these interesting needs that I'm now mature about, maybe with Connie. Just kidding. Okay, so no, so to go back to the original point, it's like you see that this could ideologically butt heads with people who've been free for 10 years. So I guess this is the thing that I'm most eager to see play out. Actually, how this plays out and how it rubs people the wrong way.
Oh, and it will.
All right, so let's move on to the next clip.
Maggie's basically kind of taming the horse when Michonne shows up, and
so let's talk about that. What do you think about that? Because that was pretty.
I think that was kind of a metaphor, to be honest.
That's my favorite clip.
Breaking a horse, or is it called breaking in?
Yeah,
it's called breaking a horse. Yeah.
Is it breaking a horse specifically? That's what it's called.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be caught saying breaking in a horse, because that
could be bad. Yeah. True.
Don't mess with livestock.
No. But basically, I mean,
like a wild horse. You know?
Yeah, Michonne shows up and essentially Maggie's, you know, taming or breaking a wild horse. And I mean, you can interpret that to mean many things based on the circumstances as they are, you know?
If you had to pick one of those things that kind of just jumps out at you, what would you choose? Like, what would you think?
I mean, just the fact that she chose to execute Gregory and redeem the blacksmith or jail him and think that he is redeemable. So here she is basically with this horse and taming this horse, because even though it is a quote unquote wild horse. She feels that this horse can be tamed and be a useful member to them.
Damn, I wouldn't have thought of that, honestly.
Really? Really?
But that's cool though, because I like getting these different takes, because I'm kind of agreeing with you. Like more.
Like that for me, that's how I interpreted it. I was like, because you're doing the same thing with Earl. That's his name, I think. Earl.
Oh yeah.
You basically jailed him because at the end of the day, it's like this guy is your blacksmith. He builds a lot of the tools that you use in your circumstances in order to basically farm and produce the agriculture that you have. So he is a useful member of your society. He's very useful.
And weapons.
Gregory, not so much. I mean, let's be honest here. He's not.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, that's part of it too. It's like, are they redeemable? Like potentially. And then we come to find out that she really tries to understand more about Earl's circumstances, and knowing what she knows about her own life in terms of her father, Herschel and all of that, it kind of helps inform her even further to know, like, this is a guy who can be a redeemable member of society.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely get to that one too, because there's two parts to even that. But
Well, basically, an interesting tidbit from that conversation with Michonne and Maggie is that Maggie's been waiting for her ethanol, which apparently never arrived.
Well, but I wanted to mention one thing about the horse, though, or two things rather. One is my first thought after you mentioning that was like, okay, wait, what if Maggie's the horse and she's just taming herself?
That's deep,
right? Now, the one thing I actually did want to bring up that was, it is the horse scene gives you a sense of stepping back, because if you think about it, look at season 2. Well, I think it's season 2, right? On Herschel's farm.
Yes, season 2 was the farm. Was the farm season.
Right, she's on horses. They do also.
The callback.
She's riding around with Glenn on horses. So it's what we knew of her. Like they did this on the farm, So it brings back a little that season 2 vibe, some of that familiarity. It kind of gives you a 50,000-foot view of Maggie. Like, it's so easy as we go through any series to kind of forget who these people were originally. Like, because as you go 9 seasons in, you're like, okay, these people grow and change, and the actors make certain choices about the person's character that sometimes feels like they're not like the character that they were when we first started out. And so to add that scene with her breaking the horse, it kind of lets you take a humongous step back and see Maggie for all the parts that she's ever, like all the pieces of her that she's ever portrayed throughout the series. And it kind of gives you like this bird's eye view of her as a character on the whole. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of why you see a lot of these people who say, oh, this gives me season 1 vibes, this gives me, early season vibes, because they're making a deliberate attempt to kind of step into their perceived roles from the start of the series, like how people saw them from the beginning, and then adding all the other stuff that came after as well. So obviously Maggie is still the way she is by the time she talks to Michonne, but like it gives you opportunity to take a step back and remember the Maggie from before, that sort of thing.
Right.
So that's all. I mean, that's mostly what I thought. And obviously the horse being her, like her tamping down her emotions, because the whole purpose is not to punish the horse. The whole purpose is to kind of get it to comply so that they can have
cooperation
sort of thing. So so that could be her, like cooperating with the better half of her,
or not the better. Let's not say better.
So her breaking that horse happened well after her just flat out murdering saviors.
What do you mean, Gregory? Or
so
no?
No. When they
this is well after,
when they had all the saviors penned up, and she just blew them right out. So I picked that clip because of what you said about her taming herself. She's getting a little bit out of control, and I mean, I picked this clip for a lot of reasons. I felt like it was loaded with symbolism. We didn't know at the time, but I also now looking back and listening to it and remembering the clip, now I almost feel like it's a foreshadowing of her death as well, because they're forcing us to go back and
death or leaving the show, or like you mean like
her from the beginning,
okay.
Her exit. I'm sorry. Yeah.
In what way though?
Her exit. Well, the writers and they're forcing us to go back and remember when we first met her, you know, and so they want us to remember this character as a whole and say, you know, yeah, you know who she is now. We've seen what she's been doing now, but don't forget, you know, she was this little girl that grew up on a farm and just, you know, worked with horses, and she was just a little farm girl.
Right, and so you're basically saying, oh, listen, here's Maggie's life flashing before your eyes, and so okay, just remember that because she's going away.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Yeah, and then 2-3 episodes later, she's gone.
That's a really good take. Which is another. It's like 1, 2, and 3 is an additional take.
Yeah, especially because anyone could be doing that. You know, anyone could be there. She was the leader. Anyone else could be there trying to tame the horse, but it was Maggie doing that.
Would anybody be capable though? Who else would be
Oh
capable
Jesus!
of doing that, though?
Which he does, by the way.
Yeah,
Not
he
yet.
was dead already.
Not yet.
Jesus.
Oh, you're saying later on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant now in this time period that we're discussing.
What? Oh no! Oh, this is only season 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's still here.
Jesus is still alive. You think he could break it? You think?
Well, I mean, essentially, what he does is he kind of tries to. He kind of pulls a Morgan a little bit. He tries to channel Maggie. I don't think he succeeds 100%, but I think he does get her to recognize what he's about to do, what she's about to do. Like, essentially, like.
I think it takes a really. I think it's a specific kind of person that can break a.
Do you mean literally or like metaphorically?
He would be able to.
Oh, okay.
I mean literally.
I thought you were being metaphorical.
No, no, not at all. I mean legitimate, literally breaking a horse. I think Maggie's the only one capable of actually breaking a horse. But maybe I'm wrong. That's why I said, who else is there that would be capable of?
There was the boy who died when they were
Ken?
when they went to the
Capitol.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, when they went to the Capitol.
Ken was,
which is Earl Sutton's. So it's Ken Sutton. It was Earl Sutton's son. I want to assume. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, but I remember that they said, you know, that he liked taking care of the horses and he was really good at them. He was really good at it.
And he was a hilltop.
I remember that.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
you know what you saying?
because you know
You saying that right?
he tries like to save the horses
Right.
before he dies, and you know they mentioned that. So
What's interesting about what you're saying though is also is that
Fair enough.
with Ken gone, Maggie steps in and does his job for him.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
Especially because
It's a fourth
she's
layer.
the one who's blamed. She's the one who's blamed for his death.
right. And
on Hilltop.
the atmosphere is, you know, the atmosphere was that, you know, Gregory was playing on those, you know, attitudes of like, you know, oh, she's blamed for killing Kenneth because Rick wants a unified community and he told Hilltop to send their delegation and blah, blah, blah. And so Maggie's stepping in where, you know, normally she probably wouldn't, but nobody else, like you said, can break the horse. That's a fourth layer.
Yeah.
That's another fourth layer of analysis,
Wow.
which is rare. Yeah, right? Thanks, Rach. All right, let's move on.
You're
Rick
welcome.
gets into the room. Michonne has this like little smudge on her arm.
Okay.
Did you notice this? She has like this little smudge of something on her arm.
No, I didn't catch that.
And she makes a distinct kind of effort to kind of, you know, lick her thumb and like wipe it off. And I'm like wondering to myself, why is that in the scene? Like, why is this little, I mean, I was thinking, okay, it's probably drool or something, but it looked sticky or something. I don't know why I think of these things. I always think of these little things. Like, do you remember the blue paint? Remember when Jada was painting in blue in the heaps?
Yeah.
And I compared it to the blue handprint of Carl and Judith on the
I mean, I know what
porch.
you're saying. When they highlight something, you do imagine that it must mean something.
Yeah, and I really wanted to ask somebody about that, but then there's a scene like this. It's like, well, couldn't they have just yelled cut or something? Or so, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where like just did the scene over again, and you know, without the smudge on the arm. I know it's really weird. That's what I do. This is me on the show. This is how I operate. You know, so
It's fine.
yeah, I don't know. He comes in. She
Carol's like, okay, whatever.
he doesn't see it as he walks in. So I don't know. Maybe she was masturbating. Anyway, so let's move on.
I think that's
No, Michelle doesn't masturbate. No. That was my question.
I picked that clip because Dave, you and I were on.
Really?
I were on the exact same wavelength. Yes.
You did? I didn't freak out, but I was
during
like,
that
what
scene,
is
and
this?
Eric will attest to this.
Because she's like doing this.
Well, okay, my version of freaking out. And And Eric will tell you. And I said the same thing. Like she had like something on her arm and she like wipes it off real quick. And it was so fast. And I looked at Eric and I'm like, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see her wipe that off her arm? Did you see something on her arm? And I'm like,
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah, of course.
He didn't even see it. And I'm like, that has to mean something. It has to mean something. She didn't just, that wasn't just Danae wiping her arm. That was Michonne.
Right.
Hiding something from Rick.
It was a pregnancy test.
Yeah. So
No.
It wasn't though.
Maybe though.
I remember
when I saw,
right? No.
No.
I remember what I
when I saw, I thought it was blood.
It is blood. That right after that, if it might be the next episode.
Oh.
That Michonne goes out in the middle of the night.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I thought
You know
it was
what?
blood. Because there's this whole vibe.
It was
Rick,
not clear.
and she's not like
Yeah.
killing or putting down walkers or whatever. She's bored, so there's blood. She's sneaking out to, and we'll learn later on that that's what she's doing. I'm like,
Oh.
cool. Okay.
She's going out.
You
and
do
having
realize,
midnight therapy
by the way,
sessions.
you do realize that all this time until you just said it just now, I still didn't know what it was. Did you know that?
Oh, look at that.
Because you have to
So glad
understand
we
something.
can
Like,
solve
it
that
didn't,
mystery
to me, look like blood. If it did, I'd be like, hey, remember the episode?
Okay.
The last episode when Michelle was wiping the smudge from her arm? Yeah.
It's not that it looked like blood to me. It's just that my first thought was, is that blood? Like, what else would she be trying to hide from Rick other than
I'm just
blood?
an utter pervert.
Like,
That's the thing. So I'm thinking like bodily fluids.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's weird that I didn't go there.
This clip is going to be titled "When Nisa Gets Serious and Dave turns into a low down dog."
Yeah.
Sweet cheeks.
cheeks.
Okay, let's move on because listening to this clip over and over again, I realize how embarrassed I am about even bringing this up. You see it in my face just now. I'm like, oh my god, I can't listen to myself. My pedantic conspiracy theorist head. But I'm glad I wasn't the only one. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I do feel a lot
Now
better.
you know. And knowing's half the battle.
Words Rick used when he was telling Daryl, Carl can't die. Carl can't die for nothing. Like Carl died for nothing. Those are the exact words that Negan used when he was choking on his own blood.
Right. Yeah.
Carl died for nothing. And boom. But yeah, I just love how those were the exact words.
Yeah. No, that's true.
That Daryl uses
What do
when
you
he
think
talks to
about
Rick in the
Carl
pit.
though? Is that
I don't think it's like letting Carl grow. It's like let go of this like mission, like creating like an ideal world, like because Carl wanted that. The ideal world doesn't exist.
Do you agree with that? Because part of me,
Yeah.
I couldn't let it go. I just I wouldn't be able to.
I mean, don't let go of the memory of your son, but don't try to build a monument to something that doesn't exist anymore.
Maybe it's like a Moses situation. Like if you think about it, like obviously we can move towards that goal, but maybe you're not the one that gets to do it. Maybe
I mean, you can try to move towards that goal, but I don't think that an ideal community where everybody gets along is feasible. It's not feasible without it being an apocalypse. Like,
oh man,
possible during an apocalypse.
But not to get political.
Stretch.
I think it's more feasible in the apocalypse. I mean, like-minded people, right? But,
Right.
Like if you think about it with the rest, and it's kind of to Rick's point. It's kind of like when the rest of the world is. And this is true in wartime as well. Like, have you noticed that like when there's a war going on, like a real war, not like these fake wars that we're fighting, but like a war.
Not to get political.
Everybody kind of drops their own mental health issues and whatever it is, and they rally and they do what they need to do. They don't think about their own problems, but like in peacetime, everybody needs a therapist. Everybody's doing their thing.
They sound like a boomer.
Now that there's nothing, like no singular focus, people look at themselves and they look at their life's purpose and they realize they don't have one. And so, like my mom and I used to have these conversations, by the way, like when I was younger, because my mom escaped from Syria when she was 20 in America. She told me this whole thing. I didn't know the extent of how she escaped Syria until like the last 10 years. And like I've gotten bits and pieces along the way. Like she went to she got smuggled by this one dude, and they went to Lebanon, and the thing dropped her off in the square, and they took her to the synagogue in the middle of the night, and then they had to go to the airport airport, and they had to hide in a meat truck, and then it's this whole thing
on the runway.
They had to fly to France to fly back to Israel, and it's the whole thing. And the end of the story is like we talked about, like, because the whole context of that is that she was trying to tell me, like, you guys, you don't have purpose, and it's like when I was your age, I had to take care of my brother and sister, and blah blah blah, and I use the argument, I'm like, well, you had to deal with what you had to deal with. It's like, I don't, because of you, thank you. But like, now we have our own problems, because in those times it's kind of like you have you have this thing that you need to do, and it kind of keeps you on the straight and narrow, and when you don't, and you have all the freedom in the world, you have choices now, and now you can look at yourself, now you have self-reflection. So the whole thing is kind of like, to kind of compare it to the show, it's kind of like, when you start to realize who the real enemy is, like, food, lack of food, the environment, walkers, natural disasters, lack of resources, stuff like that. Those are your enemies. And so that should be enough to kind of keep people together. But then, it's kind of like, it's not enough. And then we start hanging Gregories. and getting drunk and hitting and knocking babies out of strollers.
Yeah, it gets ugly.
Gets ugly out there.
Yeah, I mean, the point I was essentially trying to illustrate is that, like, it should be enough, but it seems to not be, and which is what Daryl Dixon is saying to Rick. He's saying, yeah, it's the center cannot hold, but you're pretending like it's going to. And so, which is, and you can hear me like not wanting to let go. Like, I'm not wanting to let go of Carl's vision. I'm the holdout, but I have to concede at some point.
I think the idea of this perfect world is unrealistic, but why not try, right? At least try. That would be my opinion. And people would be going, it's never going to happen, and it's never going to happen. And I'd say, you know what? Maybe not.
Yeah, Fear the Walking Dead could do
why
it.
Why not try? Well, and you don't know if something's going to fail until you try, and then it fails. So, everybody's saying...
Yeah, I mean, you don't bail out. I mean, I guess depending on the circumstances, but you see your thing to the end, or, when you see that it's not going to pan out the way you think it is, which is the thing, which I think is what Daryl is saying, is like, look, you have to look at the cracks. The cracks are there, and if we don't take the pressure off of it, or if we don't figure out a way to reverse it, what you're trying to do is going to break everybody. It's like if you continue with this project, everyone's going to suffer. Meanwhile, if we figure out another way, if we take a step back, maybe we can save, a majority of people. And then, what happens in episode 5 kind of does end up hurting a large margin of people. It sucks. Like, what was her name? Nicole Barret, who played, not Beatrice. Beatrice is Brianna Venskis. I'm trying to remember her name on the show. But she dies in episode 5. She falls on Andrew Lincoln as her death, as her zombiness. I can't remember. What? Yeah, she becomes a walker. Yeah,
she's a walker.
Nicole Barret. Yeah.
Oh no,
it's sad. And then she left Instagram for 1.5 years or something. Yeah, did you know that about my mom though? My mom escaped Syria. There's a whole community.
You mentioned that once.
This was maybe it. Okay, I mentioned.
I think that was it.
I think maybe I mentioned it in the AMA. I think too. I'm not sure, but I definitely have mentioned it before.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
But yeah, no, my. Yeah. Well, because it was literally, I think, a year beforehand. She told me some of the more details, like she and a bunch of other people sitting on stools in the back of a semi, like a freezer truck, like a meat truck, on the runway of a Pan Am flight, and they had to wait there and wait until they're about to fly, and then all of a sudden some guy goes, "Come on, let's go," and they'd smuggle them into the plane in Lebanon, in the airfield in Lebanon. And then they would take their seats and stuff like that. And you can only imagine the people around them going, what's going on? What's going on? And they fly to France. This is, and of all places, they're flying to France. Then they fly back to Israel. And then my mom and her brother and sister are settling there. And then eventually my dad sends love letters and she goes to America. And my dad is also from Syria though, too. So he took a different path. He didn't take quite the path my mom took. So my mom's a badass bitch. I love her.
Yeah.
Government, he's good.
As a bee.
Essentially, as a bee. Or as a Jack Bauer. It's fine.
This is Heath we're talking about.
Bauer children.
B is for Bauer.
He was Jack Bauer.
But for serious, we find out kind of definitively that a bee is a person and an A
Yeah.
is an it. So she kind of refers to A as an it. I have it.
I thought that an A is like a stronger person and a B is sort of like a lesser person, and that Rick is a B because he's injured.
Yeah.
He's not quite an A.
That's very classist of you, Carol.
That's life is all class systems, like whether we like to admit it or not.
What if silver was first place, Carol?
We like to put in a free society.
I like to make the rules up as I go.
Like, yeah, no, we're in the caste system. We just don't know it.
I guess. But I mean, apparently this is so.
Yeah, no.
My reasoning for thinking that is because the conversation that she had with Gabriel episodes before, where she tries to convince him to go with her and he refuses, and she says, "Oh, all this time I thought you were a B, but you're really an A."
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's like, okay, so if you thought he was a B, but now he stood up to you, so now that makes him an A, like because he was defiant and like strong, like so now he's an A. I don't know. Like, I'm guessing that, like, I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but it's like human trafficking. That's what's going on.
It boils down to something very illegal.
It boils down to like human trafficking.
Owning people.
It is what it is.
Slavery.
Look, it is what. No, it's not slavery. They're living like kings.
You don't know what's going on.
They're living like kings.
Maybe that's the currency in whatever this is.
People is the currency. Soil and greed. Anyway, see, the two things that confound us the most are A versus B, and where are we in the timeline?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no.
There are timelines.
Oh, timelines. You said it. I'm triggered.
Hashtag triggered. Hashtag timelines. Anyway,
I have for a long time, though, agreed with what Carol's saying.
Me too.
And it's mostly because of the conversation between Jadis and Gabe. And the fact that right before her and Rick got on the helicopter, she said, I thought I have
a B,
but I have a B. And Rick was injured at the time, making him weaker. Or another possible thought was that she was actually covering for Rick. And maybe the A's meet a terrible end, and she wants to spare Rick from that, so she's going to lie and say he's a B.
well, that's why I think, was it Negan? When did Jadis and Negan met, or had their thing in season 8, right?
When he was tied up.
Okay.
I think that was in season 8. Yeah, when she had him tied up.
on the trolley or whatever. It might have been a gurney, but
it's not a gurney.
Winslow 2.0 was on the trolley.
No, it's the what's the thing that you lay on?
Oh, it's a type of dolly. It was one of those. Yeah.
That's what he was on.
And then the walker was actually chained up to one of those push dollies, if I remember right. Yeah. A collapsible one too, if I remember right. And but I'm trying to remember this because her thing with Gabe, her encounter with Gabe was in season 9 as they were together, and he follows her and whatever, etc., and has that conversation. And the reason why, when she was talking to them, because she was planning to run away with him, is I thought you were an B, but it turns out you're an A. What she would do when she would bring Winslow and test these people is that this was under the assumption that they would be an A, and then they would have like a fresh walker to be able to do tests on, it sounds like to me now. Because I'm also partially basing this on The Walking Dead World Beyond. Like, we need to get somebody who's just bit, you know what I mean? And get them. And see, the thing is why sacrifice your own people, right? Why not sacrifice somebody out in the wild that isn't privileged enough to be in this community, whom we, we're sworn to protect, these people are the future, etc., right?
Yeah. Who was the little jerk from Fear?
Oh, that was Troy.
Tests on, he was Troy. I knew it was a T. They were killing people and then telling how
he was doing it all on his own
to turn. They might be doing the same thing. Testing, strong humans when they turn.
That's
a
good point.
Strong as zombies as well, or are all zombies? Once you're a walker, is your strength, and your everything the same? Or if you were a strong human, do you?
Or is there some resistance, or is it, maybe testing over time? And Jadis is a part of that testing.
Yeah.
Or Anne.
Ooh. And she knows.
Yeah, so A is essentially
what
test
they're doing.
subject, and B
Yeah.
is essentially a
She
citizen.
could know.
I mean, I guess it's really what it comes down to. Maybe we solved it.
Yeah, probably something like
Maybe,
that.
but wouldn't you want strong people in your?
Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. B just means they should belong, and A's are people out in the wild.
Yeah, because before she says, I thought you were a B, but you're an A, she was basically planning on, asking Gabe to go with her when she thought he was a B. So if he went with her, he would be accepted there. So if he's exactly as a B.
As a B,
But
right?
then, you're an A.
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
But you also have to think of them as lab rats too, because you have to also think of them as lab rats
Good.
because like when you talk about mice, the idealized subject, the test mice subject, you want to get in their own environment. You don't want to get like a homegrown mouse. You want somebody that has interaction with the environment, has, is a typical, a typical mouse in their own environment, left alone, etc. You capture them really quick and you test them, right? This is the same principle. If you test a bee,
Okay.
somebody who's in a hermetically sealed environment where they're getting feedings and stuff like that, the test might be skewed. And so that's why they don't use their own people, because they're not out in the wild in the environment where theoretically the virus is prevalent. You're around walkers, you've had to kill walkers, maybe and like you said, maybe these people that they're picking out are people who have killed walkers, and they've shown that, and that's why she's testing them with Winslow, etc., etc. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's why they need to be tested, because maybe being around them has some sort of immunity. You develop an antibody, as we are in a pandemic. So, and that's why they can't test their own people, because they're like behind these walls. They're not around them at all anymore. So they're not worthy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Been exposed
It's like,
as much. Yeah. Man, there are so many.
I feel like in this conversation we've gotten closer.
And they,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I get that feeling, and then at the same time, I'm like, no, we're totally
I hope
100%.
So. That's the thing. And you know what? The best part about that is I am hoping that we are, because who wants to? This is the other conversation we used to have. Is
Yeah.
like, who doesn't want to be surprised? Who doesn't want to be surprised? But here's the crazy thing, right? We say that, and then you have all those people who are like, "Oh, fuck Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg, fuck Fear the Walking Dead season 4 and 5, fuck season 6. I haven't even seen it yet, but it's got Morgan and friends." Or like the idea that like they wanted it to go a certain way, they wanted to be able to predictably have these people in the universe, and it's like, well, I guess somebody had a different plan, and so we don't like that, And I don't blame them. It is a big shift, but like. Yeah, it's a big, tall drink of water. It's a tall ask. So
You can survive better, longer, and you can stay sane when you have community. And then
Oh, yeah. So this is me by myself covering episodes 6 and 7. This is around Thanksgiving time too, just to give you context, I think. So. I remember this was the Thursday before the Friday after Thanksgiving, because none of us had time to record and all that. It was just me and Carol, right?
furthermore, art, reasons for living, beauty. Everybody on this show looks really absolutely grimy and ugly, but at the same time, the idea of beauty is kind of a huge thing. Beauty is kind of what keeps our societies moving. It's what allows us to keep looking at television shows. It's kind of a weird thing to have to talk about. But when you look at something beautiful, or when you appreciate writing that's really great, acting that's really dramatic, it keeps you watching. And so it's things like that. Beautiful things are kind of what keep us going. In a world where, let's just face it, all of us have everything that we kind of need right now. In whatever kind of economic state that you're in, I find that usually things have never been better than they are now, barring any impending apocalypse. It's just an
coronavirus.
So there's just no doubt that in whatever state that you're in, beauty is going to have some sort of priority or some sort of importance. And yeah, maybe it's low on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the apocalypse, but at the same time, when you've established your survival, well, what now? It can't just be about food and camaraderie. It's got to be about art. It's got to be, it's got to be something more.
This concept, this very concept that comes in Stradivarius that Luke brings about, is something that is not spoken, but is Michonne kind of brings it up a little bit, when when they finally get to Alexandria and she has to have a talk with Rick. It's like, we get to start planning for the future. You're going to be a daddy. No, I'm kidding. But like the idea of like, well, we've been doing this a long time and I didn't think this was possible. And now it is possible. And now move to the future. And here's Luke saying, oh, it's not only possible, but once this becomes the thing, we're going to have to figure out, ways to keep ourselves, enchanted, like to further cohese community. Arts, sciences, demonstrations, bread. Remember we brought up the bread? That's going to come about in season 10 when we cover it. The idea of bread in the apocalypse. Why it's important.
Thing about beauty. I remember, I think it was season 1 or 2 at Comic-Con. They asked Sarah Wynn-Callis what was like her favorite thing about The Walking Dead, and she said it's not about looking pretty.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in a world that's so grimy.
That was like her answer. It's not about looking pretty.
Right.
And everyone looked at her like, oh yeah. Especially, the lady. I think it was season 2.
Especially Daryl Dixon. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Except, no, bitch. You don't get to say that because it looks good.
Oh man. And yeah, don't get it twisted. Like, when I talk about beauty, I'm not talking about like aesthetic as much as I'm talking about like art. I'm talking about music and culture. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. It's not about like physical beauty.
Yeah.
It's about the beauty of, like the world. Like when we were talking about fear and Althea's tapes. It's memories, it's the history, it's music, it's all of it.
Who are the people that you lose your cool with more? And I would have to say, it's if I'm talking about myself, it's the people you feel close to in terms of blood, in terms of friends. I mean, when your friend does something stupid, it makes you really, really mad because, in a way, yeah, it does kind of reflect on you, but also it's kind of like, you love them so much, you don't want them to hurt, you don't want them to do something that would hurt themselves, and so you get mad at them. It's like the mom who says, if you do that again, I'll kill you, Like, well, hold on. I thought you wanted me safe. No, but I'll kill you. So, okay. All right, Mom. No worries. Why does it always come back to my mom? Anyway, so the thing, like, especially, okay, think about spousal relationships. And yeah, I'm going there. Yeah. And we're going to
be alone, by the way.
Like spouses. And yeah, we'll just go that way. Yeah, look, when you get mad, you're going to show your real reaction to your husband / wife / other partner. And so, because that's the honesty factor. You're going to be the most real with them. Yeah, you learn how to direct things in an appropriate manner, but at the end of the day, you're gonna give them their best self.
Or your true self.
It's just like
is really what I mean by that. Yeah. I don't even remember what the context of that was, by the way. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember what the context of why I said this. I can't remember.
I feel like it has something to do with maybe Daryl and Carol.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. When because we're already talking about episode 8, and this could be the point at which she looks out to find him. But it's the whole concept of is that you only hurt the ones really like yeah, of course you can hurt the feelings of strangers, but like nobody's gonna hurt you like the person you love hurts you, like but on the flip side, no one's gonna be more honest with you, ideally and probably in general. If you choose to live your life with them, it's because they're not gonna give you they're gonna give you the straight talk, most of the times, and try to be nice about it because you obviously have to live with each other.
Someone who can be brutally honest with you, and it doesn't end there.
Yeah,
it actually the relationship actually gets stronger.
Yeah,
because the person gets to be that honest with you, and they get to actually hurt your feelings because they love you. Like, okay, I'm gonna hurt you a lot right now, so you won't get hurt in the future.
Right. I'm giving you an inoculation. I'm preparing you for how big an asshole I'm going to be later.
You have a different kind of freedom to speak a certain way to the people we love too. You know what I mean? If one of your friends says something stupid, you're going to be like, hell up, you're being stupid. But if it's somebody you don't know so well, you might be like,
whatever.
Well. You're
exactly.
going to be much nicer to someone you don't know. Which is completely stupid, right?
Which, and I'm going to say this out loud, is that like, not to be political, but but I always find it very fascinating that it's like the one thing you don't talk about on the dinner table is politics and money. What were the two things? Religion. Money you definitely talk about, but but politics and religion. What do we talk about on the internet? Or what do people talk about on the internet far more often than I'm comfortable with? And sometimes religion.
Politics.
Yes.
Yeah, but more so politics.
Politics and religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, or politics is the religion. Ooh. But no, and I didn't want to get into that, but I'm just saying the irony of, because sometimes I feel like I can't be 100% politically honest with my wife. But I do try, and we're so much stronger when I let her in on some of the things that go on in my head, you know?
Yeah.
You guys have political discussions, though, right? I mean, it's not like either one of you are trying to convince the
no, and that's the key.
Mind about anything. That's That's where people get into trouble. Everybody can have an opinion, but don't try to change someone else's opinion. Just say, "Well, I don't agree." And end of story. You know, you don't have to agree.
But see, I think the thing about couples is what the possibility with a couple is that it depends on the individual, though. So I may lay out a political opinion of mine if my wife is feeling self-conscious or feeling what's the right word for this? Because there's some people that are people pleasers, and my wife is definitely one of them, right? But when you say something, there's almost an implication at some times, maybe she's not ready for it, but that's what the right thing is. Like, oh, you should be doing what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I believe and what I think is the right course of action. But what do you think is that's anytime I bring up anything, it's always, what do you think? And what back and forth we can get from what I just said. And even on the show is I don't really say, when I say what I think is going on, I'm always fishing, guys. I'm always fishing. I am never catching. I am not a very smart person. I've just learned to train my ear to listen to the questions that I ask them. But so that's what I'm saying. So sometimes my wife and I fight about these political opinions. But the thing is, it's like you said, Nisa, when after the fight, we're so much stronger. God, can we move on to the next clip?
Allow myself to watch an old episode or two, or because there's some of the scenes that people are putting on the Instagram videos. I'm thinking to myself, why do I not remember some of this stuff? It's this thing where it's familiar. It's like trying to recall something from your childhood on your own, and then watching a video of it and suddenly realizing that, oh, I remember this completely differently. You better not miss a thing, buddy. Oh, well, sometimes I do. And sometimes people wish I missed some things, because I will make a mountain out of a molehill, when it comes to observations. It's like a critique of some people. It's kind of like, dude, do you have to read into everything? So, yeah. And it often causes it to be, our podcast to be unnecessarily long. So...
I'm self-aware. I am self-aware. I'm self-aware.
And that was just you, right?
That was just me on an AMA. That was our
best part.
The first AMA, in which, you know what? Thank goodness people were there. And shout out to Eye in the Dark too. I don't know if you were there. I'm not sure, but there were a bunch of people, at least 3 or 4 people, and that was really cool. That was really, really cool, because that was a make or break moment for the podcast. I'm not going to lie. This is why episode 100 is so important, because in and around that time period, I could not get Carol on the show. I was very uncomfortable. Clearly, if you listen to episodes 36 and this one 37, I'm clearly uncomfortable, but I work my way to an equilibrium of some kind where I can find a way to continue the conversation. But yeah, and so with everybody's support and help, I kind of moved past it. I re-tinkered the way I want to do the show, and I did take on more of a leadership role. Like up until that point, a year later plus, Carol and I were sharing the bills. And then I decided, let me take on the full responsibility. This way you don't feel like obligated or burdened with the responsibility of having to be there for every show. And this way you can be there for your family if you need them. And then I also could, at the same time, I didn't know how I wanted to do this, but I also wanted to maybe bring on a guest host or something like that, or bring on somebody every other time, or have a rolling list of people to come on the show, that can pick and choose from and say, hey, would you like to come on this episode? And it can bring you on every now and again to see what you think and stuff. And then eventually coalesced into this thing where okay, look, obviously naturally I'm happiest when it's just Carol, Rachel, and I. Honestly, I honestly, and I'll tell you this, when I've been clipping the clips, every time I see that it's just Carol, Rachel, and I am so happy. I'm looking at the little description saying, oh, Rachael Burt, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. I like it. And it makes me happy. It's never it's just the smoothest fucking episodes. Funniest lines too.
When you're just like me, you're just there, listening or watching, it works when it's the three of you. Sometimes they're three completely different opinions, and I'm sometimes I'm not even typing and I forget that you guys can't see me, obviously, and I'm just looking at my phone oh my God, yes, Carol, yes.
Yeah, you tell Dave.
So many times I remember myself watching live and I'm like, yes, Carol, that's it. You say something, Dave, and I'm like, yes, Carol, you tell him, that's right. And sometimes it's Rach, I'm like, oh my God, yes, Rach, yes.
I'm crying.
So yes, completely works with the three of you. It's perfect.
Oh my God, I cannot wait to get the Fear the Walking Dead season 5 because Rachel has so many humdingers. It's so funny. It's so funny. And Rachel always plays this part, this oh, I'm always wrong, and then all of a sudden she's knocking it out of the park. It's just there's oh shit, we're all saying one thing and Rachel goes, but what about this? And we're yeah, okay, we're done, Rachel, we're done.
Yeah, and I remember myself so many times typing, oh my God, yes, Rach.
I'm literally crying. I'm crying. That was so funny. Oh, there's nothing else to say.
I like it too. I like it when we agree too. I think it makes it more entertaining,
Yeah, let's do it.
Radio station interviewed me, and it was actually Christmas time because I had just had Maggie, and because she was born December 5th, and so I had done this radio interview a couple like a week after she was born, and they made me retell the Christmas story using Walking Dead people, using the Walking Dead, and they were like, you can even use a Jesus, and it was they did not prepare me for that, but I killed it. I was okay, there's a pregnant girl named Maggie on a horse walking to Alexandria. I did amazing. And
that's great.
Oh, I did so good. And I think after that they were like, would you want to come on every Monday morning and talk and kind of talk about The Walking Dead, and we'll kind of pick it apart a little bit for a good 20 minutes. I'm like, hell yeah, nice. I will do that.
So this is our first episode, Ashley Weidman.
Oh.
We're really nervous bringing her on. We if you look at the background, it had her picture in it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But going back to the idea was we were trying to think of how are we going to do this for the episodes, let's say when Carol's not here, or when she's here. Okay, we need to have somebody on tap. And Ashley became one of those people, and it was really great. I mean, I was very surprised she answered my DM so fast. I was really happy with that.
I remember the first time I saw her on the podcast. I'm like, hey, I know her. Where do I know her from?
Right. She looks familiar.
And then, I remember she told her the story of, why her daughter's name's Maggie. Wait, wasn't she on Talking Dead? Oh my God, she's that blonde on Talking Dead. Was the ultimate fan. I'm like, oh yeah, that's her.
You know what's really weird when you think about context is like the April before seems like forever ago, and so I'm like thinking to myself, the limelight's died down a little bit, like, let's just contemplate. Like, I'm thinking about this from like a 50,000 foot view, and like that wasn't too long ago. That's like not even a year ago that happened, and so I'm like thinking right now, like, oh man, I'm really lucky, really lucky that happened. But you know what, and like thinking about it now, it's like, what does happen to like the Talking Dead Ultimate fan person, right? Think about it. Like, they get an uptick in people, having eyes on them, right? But what do they do with that? And I find that not really much happens, right? Like, I think, and in the end of the day, I think this is really kind of gets to the point, is that like why she decided to be with us is that, first of all these, like, let's say this radio show isn't doing any Walking Dead stuff anymore. Mainstream media kind of really ignores it. I mean, every now and again, you'll get Jimmy Kimmel just had Norman Reedus on the show to talk about the spinoff and to talk about his video spot in Marilyn Manson's video or something, I think. But like beyond that, it's like few and far between. Like you don't get as much mass media appeal behind The Walking Dead anymore. Yeah. And so having her up on the show just made the most sense, because like, okay, where do I put all these feelings now? Like, where do I put all these theories, these notes that I'm still taking? I'm going to put them into a podcast,
That would be really cool. I really would love, I want the season finale to be like heads on a pike for sure. So it's like,
it's gonna be.
That's so horrible. Every time
my brother picked these clips out.
I need to see heads on a pike. I need to see 10 heads like on a pike.
On a row.
10 heads. I want to see Rosita, Eugene. No, not Eugene. Eugene's not.
Whoa.
Eugene's gonna be fine. Eugene's not going anywhere.
Right. He's gonna come into his own.
He's got to get the ham radio up and going.
That's true.
I want to see the heads on the pike, and I want to see the ham radio up and running, and I want to hear them make contact, and I want to hear Rick or Maggie on the other end of that.
Pounding your desk.
What's the zombie equivalent of a bridezilla? That's what you are right now. That's what you're doing right now.
No, it's like this would be perfect, because it would be perfect. It would be perfect. It would be perfect. If it's Rick's voice on the other line, and we have the heads on a pike, I'm like, beautiful. It's perfect. It's exactly how this needs to end.
I don't know. Zombridezilla.
I love when she gets opinionated like that, and like, this is how it should be.
Yes, of course.
And it's always a good theory. Like, I would totally watch.
Of course, that's because that's also when she also, and sometimes this is like one of those times. It's not often actually, but where she pops back into like, I'm a comics reader, and I kind of want it to go this way, and it's got to be Rosita, because not half the people that are on the pikes, aren't really in the world, in the universe, or like 5 of them or 8 of them or something like that. But like, it's got to be these people. King Ezekiel's dead. Eugene, no, it's not. That's not. Let's put Eugene over here. He needs to use the radio. Eugene, use the radio. But then you realize that when she gets that way, I have to be me, and I have to go, and I have to basically go. Yeah, it doesn't have to go that way though.
That's when I'm like, no, you go, Carol, you go.
Oh, yeah, of course. Listen, you have to understand, I'm agreeing with her, but at the same time, now I have to be like, I have to be like the voice that does something else that's either that's either funny or just trying to like fuck with her shit. Because when you take yourself so seriously, it's like a perfect opportunity for me to jump in with something like completely unserious. It's like a bridezilla.
Yeah, those are the moments that she gets so into it that I get so into it too, that I stop typing and I start just talking to my phone like, yes, you're right, and I start giving my own opinions to myself, and then she says exactly what I say. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, you tell them, because that's what I'm telling. That's what I'm telling you, but you can't hear me.
I mean, this is me. I like people who geek out on things. I admire it, I've learned to admire it, like, instead of denigrate it or like, oh, okay, nerd with your pikes. Like, no, it's like, it's cute. But then, of course, you have to do something like equally cute to balance it out a little bit. Or I feel like I have to. And it's not bullying, okay? I'm not a bully. I'm not telling people to kill kids, okay? Or I wasn't, at least. I was trying not to. Until he bullied me into saying something about eating kids. God. People. Anyway, so... Yeah, because look, I have to be the bad guy, guys. I have to be the bad guy at the end of the day. I'm here to make you look good. Although you don't have to work that hard. Twitter account, the AMC one, and even the Skybound one. And like, well, let's start with the AMC one, okay? The AMC one has been making so many mistakes, from hashtag Ikikio to putting the group banners like with the text that's underneath. So like they'll say, "What do you think of Hilltop?" and the banner's like for Alexandria. Or sorry, what do you are you with the Kingdom? And then they'll put the Hilltop banner. You know, so and I don't know if it's like just like genius. Do you know what I mean? Like, right? They're like doing it on purpose. And that hashtag Ikikio was the funniest thing. I still use hashtag Ikikio in some, like, whenever there's a mistake or whenever there's like just something absolutely hilarious. And then you go to the Skybound, the Walking Dead account, and they're like just random. What you should do is go to their Twitter account and then go to where you see not only the posts that they make, but you see the replies. It's hilarious. They're responding to people. They're retweeting people.
Johnny Odell.
And they just recently trolled the Game of Thrones account a couple times. We mentioned it, I think, the last time, so like a month ago. But they also trolled like Batman and Superman. And I actually read this, and I wasn't going to read this online, and I'm still not going to. But like, they said, "Who do you choose if it's Batman or Superman?" And then the Walking Dead account just retweeted and said Martha, because they both have mothers. Superman, Clark Kent, and Batman, Bruce Wayne, they both have mothers named Martha. And it's kind of like a little troll on the Batman v Superman movie, which kind of didn't do very well. So, I mean, and they do things like that. They're like, and they even like retweeted the Wendy's account for some reason. It's just hilarious. Like, so just do that. I mean, don't do it now. I mean, you could do it now. You could listen to the show and just do whatever you want. It's a free country. I mean, unless you're listening from China, in which case, thanks.
I'm not too below to suck up to you.
I remember exactly what I typed when I was watching this. I typed hashtag Ikikio plus Batman v Superman is actually awesome.
Who do you choose, Batman or Superman? And then you do the retweet, you go, Ikikio.
Yeah, I remember exactly what I typed.
I choose Ikikio every time.
Like, oh my God, Dave, you haven't seen like the ultimate extended version. It's so awesome. Hashtag Ikikio.
Hashtag Ikikio, right?
Oh my God.
Zack Snyder's ultimate director's cut. Hashtag Ikikio.
Yeah.
The Ikikio cut.
And I remember
that rolls off the tongue really nicely. The Ikikio cut.
I think Ms. Maisel, Walani, they were there too. They were also hashtag Ikikio. Everyone was just typing hashtag Ikikio.
This promise that he makes to Judith, which finally gets Judith to kind of let him go. And he basically says, "I won't hurt anybody even if they're trying to hurt me." This is really crazy, okay? And crazy important, because him saying that out loud to Judith is kind of like something that's going to be like a tagline for this season, for the rest of the season at the very least, okay? Because it symbolizes, this is basically going to carry throughout the season. Like, I'm kind of interested to see if he does keep his word. At the end of the episode, he's going to be going back to Alexandria, back to his cell, right? But I don't think that's going to end up happening. I think something's going to happen, right? So, or if it does, he's not going to be there very long. Yeah, no sanctuary. I thought about that. In the comics, Negan Hurt's a big character. But that's the thing. He's going to be basically put to the test when it comes to this idea. So it sounds like a lot of you don't think he's going to keep his promise.
Everybody thinks Negan's going to go break that again.
Yeah, exactly. Does that include the Whisperers? And it may be that he kind of skirts by on his charm alone. I'm just when you do something like that, when scripting does something like that, it's not for nothing. They won't just do it, you know what I mean? They won't just do it for him not to try, or at least wrestle with it. And I think part of what we want out of this Negan, because this Negan is obviously not like the comic book Negan. I mean, to a limit, but there's so much more depth. There's so much more nuance. He has a personality
personality, okay? Like, I mean, he has a personality in the comic, granted, but it's not a personality that we can actually connect with. And it's kind of like a lot of villains. They're kind of more archetypes, right? Like the Governor's, it's Dick archetype, right?
Dick archetype.
In the comic. But in the show, we got to connect with him a little bit. We got to connect with Philip. So, I mean, think about it. Like a Negan that we can connect with already. We can see him wrestle with that personality already. And now we have an anchor, like a moral anchor to kind of set us up for the rest of Negan,
Judith.
for the rest of this Whisperer's arc. And you're already seeing that struggle sort of take place in the Sanctuary. You know, he's trying to get back to his old life, but he just can't get there. It's kind of like he's got... it's like Negan erectile dysfunction. He just can't get there. There's nothing for him to really go on. You know, not even Big Richie, which I'll talk about in a few.
By myself, when you don't have a choice. The one thing I wanted to pick out of that was like, maybe he'll skate by on his charm alone. So like, to gain favor with the Whisperers, he doesn't really kill anybody to do that. You know, he does skate by on his charm alone. In that way, I think I was right, but but the thing that ends up being the wrestling part was his thing with Brandon. I think that was maybe his last moment. If he thought that he had a legacy and people remembered what he was trying to do for what it was, like, I think there wouldn't have been too much of a wrestling match. But like seeing Brandon, you know, being like, 'cause I remember we're going to talk about this clip when we talk about The Walking Dead season 10, because it's going to come up. But seeing Brandon being the ideal person to properly remember the Saviors, and even he doesn't remember it right, like, what was it all for? You know, like, what was the whole thing, the whole project for? It goes to show that, like, this is something we talked about a lot in season 8, as I was trying to be on Carol's side about Negan himself. Like, I was, like, totally anti-Negan, blah, blah, blah. But Carol convinced me that, like, no, this isn't for nothing. He doesn't do these things for nothing. There's a reason why it gets done, even though you don't agree with it. Like he does take the one person so that everybody else falls in line, because in the end, the crux of it is he wants to save people. You know, I'm just trying to illustrate the evolution of our thinking.
But I thought at first, like, oh, they're not going to go there, when they kind of were making Alpha very much about, like, a kind of, like, domestic abuser, like, in terms of physical abuse. I was like, okay, well, maybe they won't go there necessarily with, like, the whole rape culture that the Whisperers have, because it's more about, like, a domestic abuse and that sort of power, you know, sort of thing. But then when she kind of like got traumatized and wanted to go back to her cell at the sound of, like, hearing a baby cry, and, like, then we see, like, a baby and, like, the group, it's like something about this, like, obviously has set her off. And I mean, she is, I don't know, like, about Henry's age, I'm assuming, right? So she's got to be like
15, 16?
I'm guessing some kind of teenage, some kind of late teens or something, I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, could she have been pregnant? I don't know. It's possible.
Right. Well, and yeah, I think the thing that you're trying to say and not spitting it out is that, yes, one of her group well, no, not just one, maybe a lot of her group raped her.
Yeah.
Convinced her was the common good. There was that holding the knife at her throat, that really large machete to her throat. Right. Mm-hmm. So what basically, just to make it clear for everybody else, she was raped multiple times throughout many years in her teenage years, like 4 or 5, let's say. Mm-hmm. And she was pregnant, and something would happen to her own baby.
Right. Potentially.
So that's, and then that makes more sense to me to resolve that issue, because then while she's talking about her mom lying, well, I don't know about lying to her, but like saying that these communities can't survive, and then all the lies she told to her to convince her of that, seeing the truth in front of her, realizing that she didn't have to get rid of her baby. What?
Yeah, what? It's very possible. It's entirely possible.
My mind is kind of blown right now, and I hope they do that too. That would be so heavy for this show.
I think it has to. I don't think that they would kind of insinuate and make her have that kind of reaction for nothing. They've got to revisit that. They have to. Like, I feel like they have to kind of revisit why she had such a visceral reaction.
Right.
To bring me back to my cell kind of reaction.
Right. Put me back in my cell too. Wow. And think about that. If that's true, and she wants to be put back in her cell, the thing that she had to do, right? Mm-hmm. That told her to do, and what does that make her? Right. Mm-hmm. It's sticky. I mean, in a bloody way.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, it's highly possible.
I will say, it is possible that, you know, Lydia had a baby and had to give it up and everything. I don't think that is why she had the reaction she did. Well, because Omega and then Bounty, right? Bounty's the next one. Okay, so Bounty is when we see how Alpha truly regards babies. So after that, I felt Lydia's reaction was just her kind of realizing that
or
nobody really matters to her.
She says that,
including her.
You know, but we find out later on, that Lydia doesn't matter. But like we find out later on,
she doesn't matter.
Shit, it does.
Right. Well, and there's obviously she does matter to her, but Lydia is really, I think, struggling with that. You know, she wants her mother to care about her, but you know, everything that she's been told from her mom even is telling her that she's not cared. We don't care about you.
Right. Out loud.
It would change absolutely nothing. I wouldn't grieve you. We would just move on. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe and then what you said about seeing a community actually take care of a baby and seeing that this life is possible. I do believe she probably most likely was.
Oh.
The question was whether or not she had a baby out of that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think it's pretty safe to say she was.
I mean, I'm gonna go and say she didn't. But
didn't have a baby or wasn't assaulted. I don't like that word.
Yeah, I don't think she was either of those things. I think AMC or whatever, or Skybound Valhalla stayed away from that. They're just like, we're not going to go there. We can do this a different way that still has the same effect.
I think they would have to stay away from it, but I think they did it the way they did.
To keep you guessing, for sure.
Well, here's how I took it, and probably only because I'm familiar with the comic books, was I felt like that was as close as they could get to approaching that topic without crossing the line.
Oh, I was thinking he was a troll, an Angela Kang troll, because she is a comics reader, and I even said it at the time. Like, can you imagine the series? By the way, in the two biggest examples, but there are so many more, are the Pikes and this moment, because from the comics, I don't, but that. This is why Lydia's all messed up. Now she's not literally the same Lydia in the comic as she is in the show, but those are the differences. This Lydia wasn't raped, and so maybe raped Lydia thinks, the way to get people to like you is to be compliant or whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah, so, but like this is trolling the not trolling, actually kind of. This is for the comics readers, to keep them in suspense,
I mean, it was very clear in the comics what was happening. And even the Whisperers, time, what they were doing still wasn't as bad as what happened to Michonne at Woodbury in the comics, and that they didn't even touch that.
But didn't it feel like at the time?
Not with Michonne anyway.
Right, but didn't it feel like at the time as you were watching, like, oh my god, is this going to happen?
So
because I did get those vibes.
Lucky for me, I had not read the comic books while I was watching that season.
Or unlucky for you.
I didn't know. Well,
in a way.
I guess you could go either way.
I was trying to figure out who the showrunner was.
Oh, at that time?
Yeah, and I believe it might have been Angela Kang.
In the beginning?
Don't quote me. Yeah, she was previously a showrunner or producer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought she was only newly showrun. I mean, I knew she was always. I think Angela Kang took over in season 8.
Yeah, because you remember Gimple saying, now Angela, who's been with us since the beginning, she's, taking over as showrunner.
Or even 9, maybe.
Oh, yeah, I guess, you know what? Yeah. I mean, she was still an executive producer, though. I think in some of those seasons.
She's always been around, yes.
Well, I
think since season 2.
Well, what I mean is that she had significant roles. I mean, she was meaning executive producer, but in charge of that
the creative process.
Because Gimple took full over for season 7 and 8, meaning executive producership, and decides where the show's going to go. Whereas in earlier seasons that wasn't the case. There was Dan Liu, and I think it was Dan Liu. I'm just trying to make sure that's the right case. But anyways, but there were shows where Angela Kang took over, or seasons where Angela Kang took over. I think it was 3. But yeah, which is why I said that, because then you mentioned Michonne, and then I thought, oh, well, maybe this is another one of her things where she kind of inserts this, what's about to happen according to the comics, gets those people fired up, See, I've always admired that about her. That could be the case. That could be one of those things.
So, Dave, where did you land on whether or not Lydia had a baby? Nisa, what do you think?
Oh, this was just
a baby in her past?
I did think so. Yeah, I had that in mind.
Hence our discomfort. So,
yeah, which is something they did not bring up on the show. So
thank goodness, in a way.
So while I was reading the comics and I got to that point and they were explaining, basically it was like the men just do whatever they want and we're animals, so they take over. And then I thought, okay, well, why can't it go the other way? Like, if you have girls in your group, why can't they just throw the guys down and have their way? Why is it only the men?
Because it's not the natural order of things. Alpha. I don't know.
Well,
I really don't.
That was just my equality thought while I was reading the.
Well,
why can't women throw them down?
Interestingly enough, like I always have trouble sometimes with Chuck Palahniuk, Fight Club, because I've read a lot of his other books, and what I've noticed is that his female characters still sound like male characters, and so I get the impression.
How they're written?
Yeah, or how they speak, to the point to where they speak and they sound like kind of typically the way men would sound, or they do things that would be kind of what a man would do, but not always what a woman would do or think. And I know that sounds very sexist of me, but there are there are differences.
Sounds like they have male writers.
But that's the thing. But as a good writer, you want to be able to channel your character.
They have
actually,
shitty male writers.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying he's shitty, but I am saying that it's a one huge critique that I have about Chuck. But it's the same and what I've noticed also, and it's not said as much as that it is thought, but I think Kirkman does have some of that issue with The Walking Dead. Especially when you come around to the Whisperers, Alpha could have been so much more.
In the comic
books?
Oh, across the board.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could read those books and know immediately it was written by a man.
Which is the tell. Yeah, that's the tell. But then when you look into the actual, when you dissect Michonne's speech patterns and the way she emotes and the way she connects with other people, it's like, oh God, it's just a man. It's Michonne's a man. Andrea's a man. Sherry's a man. Or you know what I mean? I don't know. I love how we got to all of this from just the Lydia PTSD clip, which is great. It really just goes to show that you can take this one thing away that can be very, very, very complicated and just completely replace it with something that's much more full and rich. What Carol will say very often, it'll take something that seems very two-dimensional and give it a life unto itself, like a Whisperer's religion and all this stuff that came with the Whisperers, which makes them human, but also makes them, dangerous. It makes them have a personality. So rather than these cold, empty people that you can't understand as a viewer, that you can't relate to or connect to.
Yeah.
To the point where in a poll you can ask, hey, do you want to be, because remember the whole banners thing? Do you want to be Team TWD Highwayman? Do you want to be TWD Hilltop, Alexandria? Or do you want to be TWD Whispers? And people were answering TWD Whispers because they could connect with them in a weird way.
I just want to be closer to
I'll do anything. And he's like, I have no emotions. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm
also empty. Can you fill me up? Anyway.
Day or anything like that, but they keep talking about this carnival and everything.
Yeah, the fair.
And a lot of people a lot of people have no idea.
I don't. I truly don't. And I don't want to know.
You don't want to know?
No.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be
amazing. Yeah.
The only thing I want to know is this the fair? Is it just to bring the communities together and sign that treaty?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the idea.
And is it just?
I don't want to know.
I want to know anything. Is it all King Ezekiel's idea?
In the comics, you mean, right?
I don't know. I'm saying in the show. Is it all King Ezekiel's idea? Is it all him?
It seems to be like it's a joint venture.
Okay, and where's the fair going to be located?
Oh, in the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Because the movie theater's in the kingdom too.
Isn't it
I think.
a little rundown?
I think that's kind of the point too. Just
This
gives
Is
no
this,
excuse.
is this the fire festival?
For those who didn't hear, is that the fire festival?
Oh my God.
The zombie apocalypse.
Oh, that's what we're gonna call it from now on. The Kingdom's Fair is the fire festival. Classic. She threw me off so hard because what I was gonna say was, okay, guys, the kingdom needs this fair. They need commerce. They need movement because they really have nothing else anymore.
I don't ever remember thinking the fair would be at the kingdom.
Right. Well, they were. See that.
It was always going
If
to
you
be.
remember, and I think this was like, okay, I remember when I was seeing. When were the flashbacks for the charter signing?
You're talking about when Jerry tells Ezekiel he's going to be a dad and he
Yeah, that's right.
papers. That scene.
I think that's in 10.
10?
Cobra Strike, I think, is in 10 too, if I'm not mistaken. No.
Yes, Cobra.
Because we get the light bulb in the movie theater and the highwaymen in this season because of the Pikes. So I guess all this to say that all this is being done in the name of trying to, like, behind Michonne's back to get this fair in order because the kingdom needs this win. You know, the kingdom needs this win, but so do the communities. They do want to heal after all the fall happened.
Yeah.
So it goes off without a hitch, but not without the banger of an ender. And then the kingdom falls anyway. Sad kingdom.
I still remember that moment when Debbie approaches Ezekiel and they have that moment, and I know every single person who read the comics was freaking the F out.
Another Angela Kang thing.
Yes.
And it's not a troll. It's like I'm going to make you think that it goes one way. Yeah.
Just teasing us. Yeah. I loved it.
I liked it too. I knew about it. You know, so it's kind of like, I didn't know exactly how it went down, but I knew about it.
Yeah. And it's like, no, get away from the king.
I think we're going to talk about that next because you have a lot to say about that. Oh no, yes, this is, I think 45 is you because this.
Okay, I have this thing in my head thinking, RJ, I don't think he's real.
I've heard rumors about
I don't think that he's real. I think he was at one point, but he died.
Michonne only mentions him to Daryl, doesn't she?
Why is he so little? I mean, he looks like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old. Like he
doesn't look like a 5-year-old.
6 years, you know. I mean, and in this last episode, she opens the door and he's sleeping. Why is he sleeping in the middle of the day? I mean, nap time, but yeah. I just
5-year-old nap? Mine didn't.
I know, but she's talking to herself, and she's almost acting like she did when she lost her first son, Andre.
Good point.
And they look kind of similar.
Nobody else has seen him.
Yeah.
What's her name, son?
Magna?
Magna did look in the window, and RJ was running towards her, but was he really running towards her?
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean Magna saw RJ. She just looked in the house
and saw her scoop something up, a sack of potatoes. That's a tough call. I mean, it's a really interesting idea, but given that one scene,
I'm wondering if he was real. Yes, he was born and he was alive, but then that's what changed her. He died. Someone killed him and he died, and now she's fucking crazy again. I don't know.
Because I'm trying to figure out the sequence
who takes care of him? Like, I know there's lots of people that take care of him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But you don't see anybody else with him.
Yeah, I think if not for that one, if not for that one scene with Magna, I would have, because I feel like, wasn't Magna going to argue with Michonne or something, and then she sees RJ, and then she decides to give up her weapon.
She was like, well, she's shit crazy. She's talking to herself and picking up sacks
of potatoes. Things must be hard for you because you're crazy.
You've already got a lot on your plate.
Let's go to Hilltop. Yes, she's.
God. To this day, we will still question ourselves.
Not anymore. There's too, because we go into this in season 10. We go into this again after so many months of having this burrow into our head. By the way, yes.
Right? I don't know about you, but even after we had concrete proof, I still was looking at that proof like, how solid is this really?
Because you want it to be real in a weird way. Because first of all, you're ahead of the game, I guess, in a way. And then when it does come true, you're like, wait, that's real? I was just having fun, but that's real? RJ isn't real.
Right?
Is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. This fucks with us for a while.
Yeah. I like
This
that
fucks
kind
with
of
us
stuff.
so hard for a while. I can't believe it.
One thing about this clip also is that, you know, we're questioning the reasons why Michonne changed it, and
Yes.
it may be being because RJ was real, but he died, and it wasn't RJ who died, but it were children who died. What changed her?
Oh yeah, right. Other
Her
children. Right.
Anakin Skywalker moment.
And I know this is kind of breaking a little bit. Like, you guys that are watching don't know what we're talking about, but we watched that mega clip, mega mashup edit from HGM Edits it was just Fear the Walking Dead. And I remember one of those scenes was Michonne going, you know, defending herself against the children at first, but then after a while they were coming so hard at her, she had to, you know, spoiler alert, she had to take them out. And yeah, it's still something I wrestle with too, like how that must change you as a person and make you retreat into your own, let's take care of ourselves, let's be like Maggie, let's just worry about ourselves, because the second we take people in, it could be like Jocelyn.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It was completely unexpected.
Yeah, and from a former friend. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So if it's a former friend, you know, how can we judge strangers? So,
And I also love that because of the actress. I forgot her name because she played Tara on True Blood.
on True Blood. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I just love this.
Series I didn't watch. Ugh.
The moment that you're talking about, Carol, when Carol mentions the grammatically correct letter, and Diane says, like, I think there's more going on here, you know, you have to take note that, like, Ezekiel and Jerry, they're also saying, they're like on the opposite side of the fence, where like anger is the only answer,
Right,
you know,
right.
violence is all they know, and there's a commentary there. There's like almost like somebody's saying something about women in leadership roles, I think.
Right.
Like, I mean, you see that there, and you also see that with Magna, Yumiko, and Tara. You know, Tara is clearly, I think in my mind in that scene, she's clearly signifying that, I mean, everybody else around them is also signifying the fact that she is the official leader of Hilltop.
Right.
You know, they follow her lead. You know, even though Yumiko is kind of like a strategist, it's clear that they're looking to Tara for answers and approval and you know, what to do. And she's giving the orders and everything. So, and there's, and even Addie and the two Hilltop juniors, you know, they're take charge. You saw Addie kind of like just going at it and everything. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing that part because it doesn't hit you over the head or anything. It just kind of makes it just like, we can do it too.
By the way, in doing this clip, I realized you guys quickly move on for some reason. Like, I'm making this comment, this feminist commentary. I'm like saying, you know what? I enjoyed it. I think that's a really cool thing to do, to say, hey, let's have cooler heads. Let's think of a better plan. No, Dave, let's ignore you and move on. And I'm like, it doesn't hit you over the head, but it doesn't hit you over the head, the feminism. That's a good thing, right? Right?
Right? I mean, I suppose so. I don't notice that kind of stuff. If I'm being totally honest, like I just don't notice that kind of stuff. I just take it for what it is. But is this the letter
The Highwaymen?
in the same episode? Where the Highwaymen are introduced. Not only that, but in this letter that Diane is reading, doesn't Ezekiel come to the conclusion that the Highwaymen is who must have set the saviors on fire?
No, but what Diane says, you know, with the saviors having perished, the Highwaymen were free to roam.
I thought someone had posed the thought that maybe they were.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if that was the conclusion, but because the Savior Marauders, Jed and his crew, and Regina, the Savior Remainders, because they were eliminated somehow by being burnt to death, it allowed the Highwaymen to kind of take over that route and all that. But it was
okay. All right. I guess maybe that was just my interpretation, was that they were going to put the blame on them.
We were all laughing.
And I was laughing, right? Because Carol's sitting right there. Yeah, Carol's sitting right there.
She just quietly like, I know nothing.
Yeah, like she's quietly going, let's change the subject or something. I remember exactly what she said, and I laughed because I'm like, oh my God, she realizes how, like, that one moment of her letting her passions get away with her, did actually do. And this is the first moment where you start to see it go wrong. No, well, she sees that, like, look, I did something wrong. But what's interesting about that is that in the very next scene with the Highwaymen, she does something right. She goes, I can't keep going about this the same way, right? So here we are thinking, oh shit, she's either going to double down or whatever, do what Carol do. But then she surprises all of us by thinking of the movie idea. She really gets it. Yeah. And then when she loses Henry, she loses it completely, almost.
I think that's a good picture of Carol's two sides.
Competing
sides of Carol. You know what I mean? There you go. She can handle the situation this way.
Oh, I fell in love with her.
This way. Kind of up to you.
And also kind of what you prefer, right? I mean, you could prefer, killing Machine Carol, or you could prefer. I admired in that moment where she goes to Zeke. She's okay. Step aside, Zeke. I got this, and I was just like, what's going to happen? And she thinks of this idea, and I'm like, oh, she gets it. And it made me thinking immediately of that conversation with her and Rick in the tent, and like with the little break in character too, from on behalf of Rick, I think it was. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like it was just a sweet goodbye moment for him and her, and like that moment where he's going, I'm just trying to keep it all together. He can be real with her. He's being real with her for the first time, letting her in on, like, I just want to kill them every morning, but then I remember Carl and blah, blah, blah. And like, this is why we have to do this. This is why we have to keep this up, because if we don't, it's all for nothing. Yeah. And then you take that moment and you put Carol into the scene with the Highwaymen, and it's just like, she got it. She took that message and she said, it may not have to be like Rick wants it, right? But we can do it in a way that makes sense, not like what Rick thinks. But it was a chance, right? It was like a risk. Carol does not like to do this sort of thing. She likes to be Chameleon Carol or Killing Machine Carol. But Carol is never put on the role of leader or decisive winner. And that you could credit Zeke with that too, maybe, right? A little fake it till you make it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just to give people a little background on this one is the Zombie Mommies episode. I had this really good idea of like, I don't know, I thought it was a good idea, of just having you three just take over the show, have it go wherever you want it to go. Occasionally I chimed in with facts, I think, but that's it. That was it.
It was, and I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. We did it again for the TWD season 10 season premiere, because I wasn't prepared.
I love that, like Michonne assumed like her willingness to let people in was because she didn't remember what happened.
Yeah.
But, in reality, she did remember, and she knows what her dad did, and she knows like about how Negan killed Glenn and Abraham.
I thought it was really interesting to see like how much Judith has known, and that she just hasn't shared, because like by the end of the episode, we find out that she did remember what happened in this like flashback, and she does know from her conversations with Negan, like these stories. And she kind of mentions it in the conversation with Daryl, where she kind of says like, yeah, I know the stories about how we fought against the saviors and we won and we can do it again. And, Daryl was kind of like, oh, well, you don't know everything. But she does. She knows, like, it was kind of cool to hear them, like in the Negan scene, to hear some of these things where he was like, I told her how her brother Carl was a badass and snuck into the sanctuary and shot up a bunch of my men. I was like, oh God, I remember that. And like, oh, when your dad, like, slashed me across the jugular and all that. I was like, it's
remember
cool that she's hearing all these stories and she knows all this stuff. And even when Michonne's like, oh, well, did you tell her what you did to Glenn and Abraham? Yeah, she knows that too.
Right.
So like she has all this knowledge and information, and she still kind of is clear on what she wants to do regardless. So
no, she's still exactly who she is and wants to do the right thing and do good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let people in. And exactly. She knows that not everyone's evil.
Exactly.
And she made, I feel like she made the right choice with Yumiko and
yeah, definitely.
Yep, all of them.
I was a little confused. Like, she's been told stories, but how much do you think she actually remembers? I mean, she can retell a story.
Right.
That's
right.
the same as having a memory.
Yeah.
Well, remember what we said about like people living? They live through her, or like they live through the stories of others, or whatever. You're only Yeah, your legacy
But she
lives in
has
the
those
stories of
stories,
others.
yeah.
So it's like that, and she takes that to the extreme degree, and it's like you don't have like the Bible, you don't have many books, you know what I mean, in the apocalypse. So what do you have? You have stories, like Luke said about civilization. You had campfire stories, you told tall tales, you weaved fables and myths and stuff like that to live by. And so Judith is like living that way. She's that person for them, for this community.
Also, she writes those stories.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, because it's fun. It's history. So she writes it. That's so cute.
Oh yeah. You find that out in season 10, right? When she's riding with Scott, that she has this like book of stories now.
Yeah.
That she's writing.
I think Luke's there.
Yep.
Yeah, Luke is there. That's right. See, of all people, right?
Luke's
of
there
all
too,
people.
Yep.
He's the one who's there, and she shows the notebook, and she says, "Yeah, I write everything," because he was. I remember he was telling her a story, and she starts writing down because it's history. It's important.
And then she takes those stories.
Oh, which is so cute.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Right.
Her own little stories.
The break.
Yeah.
But again, that's her way of passing along the stories. I mean, RJ's too young to understand that it was true, but she can tell it as a fairy tale right now. And when he's old enough to understand, she can explain.
Right.
This is actually
What I just taught you, all these stories, these were actually real, and they went down actually this way.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, right. I gotta fill you in on
Right.
a few.
But this is how.
Sorry, kid.
Well, why did I teach it to you this way? It's because I wanted you to learn something, and that's how to be a person. How to be lessons through storytelling.
When you tell it as a fairy tale, you can throw in a moral and
exactly.
have it be a lesson.
I have a lot of friends who have been saying to me after the show aired that they were very suspicious because their feeling was that Sadiq told them, we saw them kind of fight in the barn, but they were saying like, okay, that's Sadiq's interpretation of what happened. That's his telling the story of what happened, but like, is that how it actually happened?
You're saying like making it up?
Right, like they're basically saying like, didn't make it up. Why was he the only person spared? Like he's like the lone person that like is
oh my god
massacre. And so I don't know.
Well, he is a doctor, by the way.
That's a good point. Stop. I don't want to trust it.
I know.
That's really stupid.
I was like, I've heard a lot of people also like, I mean,
by the way, chemtrails are real, by the way. I read it on the internet.
I've heard people like say that about, a lot of people say that about Sadiq. I've also heard a lot of people express like kind of concern even about Ezekiel, because they're like, well, what happened when Alpha took him off screen? Like, and I'm like,
he just gave her some clothes for the other whisperers.
He just had the booth.
That's he just, here you go. See ya.
There is a more authentic question to ask, because here's the thing: you can say that you don't trust Sadiq, but they do the same thing with Michonne, Daryl, Carol. In the woods, they keep them alive.
Right.
So the question is, like, we can go into this. Like, the question is, why don't they smoke? Because I was more concerning myself with why not smoke these 4 top people.
Right.
Why keep them alive? I have an answer, but like, did you guys think about that while this was all happening? Like, why be suspicious of Sadiq when you have 4 people that were somehow spared as well? Like, it's not so strange to spare Sadiq in that instance. You know what I mean?
I'm not of the camp of being suspicious of Sadiq. So for me, like, I believe his story,
I know, I do too.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I do too, but you're making a lot of sense here. And that
not in season 10.
I don't like it because
a lot of
what does Sadiq say? He said,
I don't like this ration. I don't like this rationale.
Well, he says, she whispered in my ear, tell them. Yeah, right. I know. I'm not on board with this, but you're making sense. What does he say? He says, Alpha whispered in my ear and says, tell them. Okay, what exactly is he going to tell us? We clearly see what you did to our friend. What more is there to tell?
Right.
I referenced it to, you guys watch Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
most of us
remember this now, right?
So do you remember I forgot, it's season 7, I believe, 6 or 7. The Masters come back to, I think it's Marine, where she's taking over the city and everything like that, and the Masters come back to take it over, and the 3 of them are like sitting there mocking her. The 3 like slave masters are like sitting there mocking Daenerys, and pretty much the dragons appear, they wipe out all the ships, and Grey Worm kills 2 of the masters and leaves 1. Tyrion walks up to him and says, "Go back and tell the people what you saw here."
Right.
So, like, I kind of in my head as I'm watching this, I reference that scene from Game of Thrones. Like,
right, because it's not enough to see the aftermath.
You want to send a message back to whoever saying, "Look, don't go back."
Right.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't a spy and he's being genuine, he watched all of his friends die and see the destruction.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, I don't know why that. It just kind of like, as I watched that happen, I was like, wow, this reminds me of like this. And if you go back and watch that scene take place, it's the same thing. It's like, go back and tell the people what you saw today.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like it's a pretty common thing too. Like I've seen that in other shows and movies and stuff, you know. They leave one person alive to tell everybody else to scare them.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, because of how
I
serious
totally
this is.
trust Sadiq. I totally trust Sadiq, but there's so many ways to get into my head and
Yeah, like
twist my
RJ, is he still alive?
yes. I'm so sure. And then Ashley's like,
Ashley, by the way, we're not making fun of you. Like seriously,
No,
it really did. It's because it's a good theory.
Yeah.
It had the right amount of centipede legs to burrow into our brain.
yeah.
Ugh, gross. Anyways, no, not your theory again. I was going to go further with that. Is that because I was seriously like in a conundrum, like why they wouldn't smoke. You know, I love the word smoke because they're right there, just slit their throats. There's Michonne, Daryl, Carol, all these strong people. And then I remembered, because you have to watch the episode again to figure out the sequence of events, right? Oh, Chris just popped off. All right, well, we'll come back. Lydia confronts Alpha, and Lydia gives Alpha a choice, you know, on whether or not she's going to live. And I think there's something going on here where Alpha feels like, I'm going to give them a choice. Like, I have this whole horde here. I could just unleash it and be done with it. And I could survive. But she's giving her, you know, them and / her daughter a choice. Like, and her daughter can attest to, obviously, her brutality, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's like a little interplay here between the daughter, between the people, and like they know what she's capable of. Daryl kind of, I think, understands her a little too, being out there in the woods for so long.
Seeing the horde too.
So I think that's the real reason. Do you guys see where I'm coming? Because I seriously saw a flaw here. Like I saw like, why would she leave this open like that? There's just there's no reason to keep these people alive. I mean, if anything, you want to slaughter the big top leaders,
Right.
leave
Well,
Sadiq alive, and then
I don't want to kill you people. I mean,
she said before she doesn't want conflict.
so I want conflict.
Yeah.
So
That could start a bigger war, killing off the leaders like that.
right.
Yeah. But she said the time for that is, well, actually, Beta said the time for that is over. That deal is done.
Yeah.
I think people still struggle with this one in a way, or even with the way things shook out, people still don't trust Sadiq.
If things happen on a show that doesn't quite make sense, sometimes you'll find out later what the reason is, and that's cool. But if you don't, and it's like, okay, what was the point of that? The only rational explanation I can come up with is because it was written in the script. Like, there's like it because that's how it was written. Because the show has to continue somehow. That's the only explanation I can give myself sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right to a point, but then you have to understand, like, okay, if we don't understand why that happened, then we can't connect with the enemy. Like, we can't understand them. We can't. Because obviously Negan had a reason. Everybody has this reason. Philip even has a reason, I think. No, not really. But anyway, the whole what we found out later on is that she's not interested in slaughter. She's interested in fealty. She wants either guardians or whispers. In that respect, like, and I think we brought this up maybe once, maybe twice. There is an echo of Negan in that. You know, people are a resource. You're either a loyal whisperer following the gospel of Alpha, or you're a revered guardian, like this religious deity kind of being to them in a way, especially Beta. Oh, the noise. But yeah, like, so, but here's the thing. We didn't have all that information early on. Which is interesting. Like, we were willing to wait to find out why. And it was the last time we saw them technically, sort of. We saw them one scene in we saw one scene at the last episode, I think. Or did we? The one where
Alpha's out in the woods, and it's obviously warm weather, so they went like south for the winter or something like that, like geese or something, and like Beta's hitting Alpha's arm.
Yeah.
For what she probably did to Lydia, or what was assumed to be done to Lydia. Like, what was it though? Yeah, that she killed her daughter. Yeah, because remember, she told everybody that she killed her daughter at the fair, and so she's taking her licks. I don't know. So that actually allowed us to hold on until we could find out the reason why she did things the way she did. You know, because she could have taken them all out, but she didn't.
She could have. Did she know that they were going to have to go past the pipe?
Did Alpha know?
Did she know that by letting them go, they would be forced to see what she did on the pikes? If she had killed them, they wouldn't have.
Oh, no, they would have known by Sadiq, I think. The leaders? Oh, all the people.
But if she killed them, they wouldn't have known. Yeah, if she had taken out Michonne and Daryl and Carol and Yumiko at that time, they wouldn't have seen her masterpiece.
But what's the point? If you could just kill the leaders, leave Sadiq, and then have Sadiq tell them, oh, your leaders are dead. Oh no, but why terrorize them if you could kill them all, right? That's the real question, right? Like if they're in your way.
Yeah.
True.
Isn't it more fun to terrorize?
But you don't often. I guess, but I guess that's the thing, that the whole it kind of maybe goes back to you. Like, I guess the whole point is the discovery, like finding out what she really wants. You know, is she a terrorizer? Is she somebody who wants fealty? Is she somebody who, what does she want? And then you get into it in the season 10.
I think Alpha really wants to be an animal, but she gives into her human.
Yeah,
her human
in spite of herself.
So often, but she wants to be an animal. Yeah, she wants to be an animal, but she's not.
Yeah,
and she.
You know what strikes me is that
human she is.
There's this fear factor, because I feel like all the Whisperers hear this, right? All the Whisperers are seeing Alpha be an idiot, but they're so afraid to talk because of Beta. You know, you ever notice that? Like, come into my little den, my little mother's den. Oh, come on. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, dude, I don't know. Just let it go. I don't want to. Beta's looking at me funny. He's reading my thoughts. It's just the whole thing. I'm not doing this today.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, and then she decapitated one of her own people because they disagreed with her. So, yeah, I don't think I'd be stepping forward to
fall in line. Exactly.
Anything either. I just.
But Alpha is so deluded that she's like, oh, whatever I'm doing is working. Like, no, you just have an angry giant next to you.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like this meat cannon. Cannon.
I'm gonna give you the bone to pick, but I'm also gonna spitball and whatever. I also have an answer for it too. Is a lot of people have comments about if it's so goddamn cold, why is your jacket open? Why is your hood not on?
As a mother, I was like, zip up your coat, Lydia.
Like the quote.
What are you doing? It's
right?
so cold.
You're in the you guys are in the Midwest, and I look, Carol and I from the East originally, and like you just don't do that. Like your mom would just go like, zip that goddamn coat up. Don't be a fucking hero.
Honestly,
like, maybe not your mom, but
don't be a tough guy.
Honestly, like what my first thought was like, zip up your coat. It is cold.
It is cold out, Negan. Don't give her your jacket.
Right.
You take care of yourself first.
Gosh.
Are you like having flashbacks, Carol, to like when you lived in New York, temperate weather?
Yeah, I remember those snowstorms well. I mean,
but have we ever seen a snowstorm that causes like high winds like that?
Yeah, that was a little.
Because I've never seen that before.
That was like blizzard conditions. That was.
We just went through that a little bit.
What's it?
I've seen
high winds.
I've seen a whiteout, but I've never seen high winds like that before.
Oh yeah, I've been through that.
That's like the.
I've been driving through that. It's not cool. Not cool at all. It happened recently, actually, too, on the FDR.
There's a name for it. There's a term for it.
Blizzard.
It has the high winds.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, but well, that's like an overall climate. But
I'm tired.
She said tundra. That's the thing. Okay, my answer to this problem is the following. One, the reason why they never did a snow episode before is because it's hella expensive and hard to do.
Yeah.
Nobody told me. Like literally, what's funny about what Angela said was that this is going to be the last time.
Yeah.
Like it's just too hard to do. They had to build. They had a 40,000 square foot sound studio that they did this all in. And so just to kind of bookend that, they have their jackets open because they're fucking sweating in the soundstage, and they're trying to get this done as quickly as possible too, because it took them long enough to build the actual soundstage. So, I mean, and this is me just knowing how all that works, or like having a clue in how the shooting schedule works. It's like time is goddamn money. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think like the director, and I think this was it was Nicotero, right, for this episode. Yeah, I can see how a director would overlook that, like a continuity thing, like almost, it's like, well, on this take, just zip it up, because you're not selling it. I mean, you're selling cold, but you're like you're like being an idiot, right? In a post-apocalyptic world, you're being an idiot,
By the way, it's called a bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclone, but that's a specific condition because of
the Northeast this weekend. By the way, sorry,
we just got warm weather. That was scary, though. I wasn't lying about, we literally had just gone through that, and I was driving in it, and I remember, because I don't know if it was in this episode when I explained it. I think I cut it out of this clip, actually, because we were all being pedantic about weather. And then, and that stayed in the episode, actually. But I remember driving on the FDR. This is it was on the West Side Highway in Manhattan. And I was looking to the left, and I saw a car actually go past me, because I'm driving, trying to be safe. And I see it drive past me, and all of a sudden it starts spinning. It starts spinning in front of me. Not in front of me, but like beside me, but like in front, but like ahead of me. And I was just like, get me the fuck home. I need to get home alive. I need to see I was like one of those things where I think maybe should I call my wife? tell her it's like, if you don't hear from me, just call the local hospital or something. Shit, it was really scary. It was really scary. It was high winds, tons of snow. Yeah, in a Prius. Just want to put that out there too.
We have 2 weeks of winter, and the rest of the year is just hell with storms. Ugh. Lots of storms all year long, including in the winter.
Why do people live there?
I'm trying to get out, but
Okay, this clip's Requiem for the Vultures, and so we're getting to the clips where we actually go down to Sonoy to do Camp Merrimack. So here's the first clip. Oh man, everybody's exploding. They love Alicia too, and Daniel, and Mel. Yeah, because she's saying the vultures are back. Because I said vulture. I said vulture once, and she thought, oh, the vultures are back. Kevin Zegers.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, those guys. They didn't last very long.
No, but I mean, what an interesting group of villains.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really do anything. They just waited.
I feel like that they could have done.
We'll be here when you die.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of genius, though, right?
It is. It is.
This what is this Negan bullshit?
Yeah.
Just wait you out.
Yeah, we got time.
We got time. We got resources. Whatever. Yeah, it's hot. You want a hot dog? It's hot, right?
A little soda?
A little soda. Yeah. You like soda? He's a half drunk one. Here you go. Beggars can't be choosers. Anyway.
Right. Oh, we got his Dr. Pibb. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. See you dead yet? Anyway. I don't remember why we said that too. So I guess if you want to see the full episode, just go to the full episode. I don't even think it's that long. It's it's a special. I don't even remember what we were covering at the time. I mean, I could click it and find out, but no, just find out for yourself. Episode 50. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So, okay, this is funny. Okay, let me just play the clip. And sorry, apologies in advance. Just get ready to, if you have headphones on, maybe take them off a little bit, because the audio on this episode on my mic is out of control. So apologies in advance.
So we had Xander Berkeley on our show a while back.
Oh, yeah.
And like usual, we're taking questions from the live feed. Is Ryan still watching by any chance?
No, it's on the Facebook stream.
Okay. No, because he, as you know, he takes the questions and feeds them to me.
Right. Oh, sorry.
This was prior. Well, this is also prior to us. This was prior to Renee coming to us going, hey, why don't I take the questions for you guys, send them to you in a link, so as you're doing the show, you can pull up the link on the side, and then because it takes time, you get distracted, you have to read the comments and find the questions in the chat and all that stuff.
Right.
This was prior to all that happening. So Ryan takes the question from, I forget who it was, but he writes it down. But the person went back, he deleted that one and rewrote the actual one corrected, okay? But he never saw that.
Oh, right. Which is easy to do.
Right.
Even if you have somebody feeding you the questions, I can see that scenario happening.
Mm-hmm. So he slides me this question. And I'm looking at it and I'm reading it as I'm talking to Xander, and I'm like, I don't know if this is correct, but I'm going to go with it. So I'm like, oh, Xander, blah, blah, blah wants to know something about the movie you just were in and you did. It's called Pound Mary. And dude, Xander literally sat there for a second. He was like, it's Proud Mary, you dickhead. I literally turned to Ryan and I was like, are you
Proud Mary? It's Proud Mary, dickhead.
I'm not even moving my lips. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Oh. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. He's like,
no, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. That was great.
So I literally asked him how his movie was Pound Mary when it was when it was Proud Mary.
What's his wife's name again? I think it's Mary. No, I'm kidding.
If you're ever in our chat and you see, I want to say it was Michelle, Whole Lot of Crazy, who might have asked this question. But if you're ever in our chat during a show and you see hashtag Pound Mary,
now I know.
That's one of Ryan's names is Pound Mary.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Pound Mary, keep on pounding.
Gotta rewrite that whole song now.
Yeah.
Oh god. It was one of those moments. I mean, being called a dickhead by Xander Berkeley live. An amazing moment.
That is.
Was he really mad?
I feel like
he understood it was a mistake.
I'm pretty sure.
That's
either
good.
that or he thought we were like just basically fucking with him, but we weren't like at all. And yeah, because it was.
Listen, you dildo.
Tells you stories and stuff. He's very animated and character sometimes. So literally, he sat there and it's Poundberry, and like got right in the camera. Dickhead.
Oh my gosh!
Wait for it. It said Poundberry.
Oh yeah, proud. Yeah.
It's Poundberry.
It's not just pound, it's pound.
Eventually, this clip will be released at some point, but I do link to that interview at the tag of that clip, so you can head over to that. Yeah, this is what's taking me so much time. Some of these things I want to sneak in the reference and all that stuff. Right. It should be known that this was pre Camp Merrimack. This was just before. There's a 53 that's after, and you'll see why too, because the clip from that one, my brother picked this one out too, I think. This is the one, and it follows, it dovetails too. Watch this. It was the night of Camp Merrimack Charity Bash. People were leaving, and I wanted to get Xander's signature on the hat. Mm-hmm. And so I go up to him. It starts that way. I'm like, well, I explain the story, and he's like, well, that's really funny, you know. It's like you're kind of like the traveling man, and he tells his assistant Kara, I remember her name, or Kara. Oh yeah, you know, put on the traveling man, you know, and like he started putting that on, and then I'm telling him the story. The hat's going here, there, and everywhere. Oh, the hat's going everywhere. Like, and I was like, I drove in from New York City. It took me like such hours. Like, you're the traveling man. And so all I wanted was the signature, and it turned into this conversation. I don't even know how long I was there. It was time started stopping and whatnot.
What happened?
And like, by the way, you're in the Xander zone with this girl, Vibes BMX on Instagram. He's watching all this. Who else is there? I don't even know. Everybody's gone. It's just me and Xander right there, and Kara. And so, apparently, she's great. She's awesome, actually. Yeah, so the traveling man's playing, and all of a sudden, like he's done signing the hat. We're talking. I'm talking about his main projects. And I was like, you know, like I'm just. It's great that what you're doing, and et cetera, et cetera. He's like, I don't want you to go yet. Just sit right there. Well, hold on. Sit down for a second. He's like, I want to draw you, and I'm like, I'm not saying no. And so I let him draw
Tommy, and it's on our Squawking Dead Instagram. It's you'll see it. It's kind of like brownish and whatnot. But you know, he starts off by doing a sort of pseudo charcoal of what he sees, etc. And then he just gets water, like a paintbrush and water, and it's his way of painting. He paints the charcoal, in different amounts of water, different pressures, etc. And I think the experience is actually in the watching, not as much as the finished product. Yeah. I mean, again, the journey rather than the destination, the traveling man, the song, me driving all this way, him making it to Maine. There's just something in what is going on. Yeah. And it was just weird. It was just a weird, awesome moment. We were talking. I was maintaining this weird glance at him, too. I was trying to do this the whole time. Let me show it to you guys now. And I'm staring at him right in the eye. And I'm like, there's an active part of my brain is kind of like, by the way, just for the audio, I'm doing this kind of eyes looking through slits glance kind of at him, like over my shoulder, with my cowboy hat on. And like, so it's almost kind of mean. He's like, he actually said something about like,
well, not quite like that. like this.
You're like, you're gonna keep looking at me like that. and
that's what we're going with.
Yeah, that was an
80s photo shoot.
That we can see that.
Okay, so now we're up to Fear the Walking Dead, but. That was the clip. That was the keeper. There were so many really good moments at Camp Merrimack Charity Bash, but that was the keeper for me.
I want to read you what I wrote in my notes here.
I wrote that in the notes too. In the notes for the clip. In the notes for the clip. You'll see it. Xander draws Dave like one of his French girls. But yes, that was a very cool takeaway from that moment, and I mean, I look. Can lightning strike twice? We don't know.
Yes, it can strike twice.
Damn, there's hope for me yet. But like, you have to also consider that this story came on the heels of like my first encounter with him. The first night when I drove in, I'm bleary-eyed, wandering around with my sunglasses for some reason because I forgot my regular glasses. So I'm looking like a cool guy, and I'm schmoozing with Jason Kirkpatrick and him in the room. They're talking about. Xander's like saying, let me get you in on some of these main projects I've got going, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm back there, I'm adding input. And it's this weird confluence of, how did I get in here? in the back of Abraham's army's basement, essentially. And so it was weird for me. It's weird for me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not used to it. I'm there in the moment, and I'm being there. I'm being present, aware, all that stuff. Because you can't bail out. There's no ripcord. You can and make a total dick out of yourself, but, yeah, I mean, and people do, whatever. It becomes too much. But, like, for me, it's the thinking about it part. That's the thing that gets me. Or the aftermath. The aftermath's like, did that just happen? That just happened. That just happened.
That's usually where I'm at. I don't think too hard.
No, I'm both. I'm both. I'm both before and after. But during, I'm like cool as a cucumber. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I'm not there. Okay. All right. So with that, everybody, we have just reached the end of our coverage of The Walking Dead Season 9, our best clips, and everything in between and just after. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us, period, on Squawking Dead, yes, Rachel.
Thank you.
What a wonderful addition. Like I said, it's like the dream team. The three of us are like the dream team. And, and anybody who else decides to pile on makes it better. It's like a little topping on the ice cream. But, the ice cream's what you want, right? The ice cream, little triple swirl. The triple swirl of Carol, Rachel, and Dave. CRD. What does it mean? Civic Republic Davidary? Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Stop being right. Again.
Judy?
Which we'll see soon. If you like what you heard, head to ratethispodcast.com/Squawking Dead. 5 stars and eggplant is all we need. I haven't said that in a long time. And if you like what we're doing even more, enough, first of all, you've already went out of your way to rate us. Second of all, if you like us even more than that, head to ko-fi.com/Squawking Dead. It's a means to support us. It's less than a cup of coffee. If you buy us one coffee, you get 30 days of access to all the exclusive links, the recording schedules, unedited video of this content, and previous content too. All the rants, all the things that get left on the cutting floor, all the un-PC shit that we say all the time, obviously because we're monsters. Enjoy. Now, if you subscribe to a coffee a month, that party keeps rolling. You don't lose access. But more than anything else, head over, create an account, and just follow us. You don't have to spend any money to actually get in the know of what's going on, because we don't cross-post some of our exclusive posts over to social media. It's too much of a pain in the ass. Just follow us there. You'll get the know. You'll be on the inside in a way. And then if you decide you see something you might like, just hit us up with one coffee. You'll get access to that and everything else in the past. So it's a win-win. With that, we'll see you in our coverage of our best clips of Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. I love it. I love it. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.